Hey, T-Sippers. Hey, T-Sippers. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. Let's talk about it. I don't want to, though. I'm going to be honest. I really don't want to talk about this mess. We really should have saw this coming. I mean, it was really predicted. It was in the Epstein files. It's just disappointing, you know, for people to really think that this is just really, I don't know. I don't even want to tap into why people think what they want to think. These Trump minions, these people that they done paid to come in to pump him up. It blows my mind. And I know they bots, but Lord. But anyway, before I tap off into this was predicted by Epstein. It's in the Epstein files, y'all. What's happening right now is in the Epstein files. And it's in the Epstein files. Let me say this. Because he was cornered. Trump was cornered. And in the Epstein files, Epstein predicted this was going to happen. And when this man right here didn't clear him, when this man right here, Bill Clinton, didn't clear him, was it even 24 hours? Was it even 24 hours that Trump did exactly what the Epstein files said that he was going to do? And that was his partner, his booty buddy, yeah, his BFF said it was gonna do. But my thing is, if he hiding in Israel, and Iran returned fire and retaliated, and hell, didn't Dubai come up? Yeah, but anyway, if he hiding either in Dubai or where else they say he could be hiding, hell, they retaliated over there, didn't they? And they saying that old Iron Dome that he was pushing didn't fully do what Trump them said it was gonna do. Right? That Iron Dome made it through. It made it through. It knocked some shit down. Now I'm sure it got some stuff. It got through, but it didn't fully do what Trump said or sold on that it was going to do. And rumor have it hell Bibi Netanyahu running his ass off. They said he ran. He wasn't even man enough, bold enough to stand in his own dirt, that he got us fighting for him. I think Trump went over because Iran, oh boy, had some dirt on him in them Epstein files. Let's be clear. This war is not about nothing but Epstein, the Epstein war. And now he finna try to take over, negotiating all the same shit. This is a replay on Venezuela. They got Ayatollah out. And he thought he was just going to run over there and put some people in place, and they wasn't going to return fire, and it was going to be easy breezy. But that ain't the case. And Bibi Netanyahu running his ass off. So that means that if some of what got through to Israel, hell can get through to us, right? Oh, okay. So it's gonna be a whole new rebuild, and Trump's towers, brothels, and all that shit gonna be over there. Let's listen to what he just came out and said recently, so I can get to how this dome didn't really work the way they said it was gonna work. Let's go.
We have breaking news. The president is giving an update on social media about the strikes in Iran. Let's take a listen. Over the past 36 hours, we have breaking news. The president is giving an update on social media about the strikes in Iran. Let's take a listen.
He done dyed his hair and everything.
Over the past 36 hours, the United States and its partners have launched Operation Epic Fury, one of the largest, most complex, most overwhelming military offensives the world has ever seen. Nobody's seen anything like it.
You don't know what we seen.
We have hit hundreds of targets in Iran, including Revolutionary Guard facilities, Iranian air defense systems. Just now was announced that we knocked out 9 ships plus their naval building.
Did our people get
all
killed?
in a matter of literally minutes. Iran's formerly supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, is dead. This wretched and vile man
I need to see
had the
that.
blood
I don't
of
believe it
hundreds
just
and
yet.
even thousands of Americans on his hands, and was responsible for the slaughter of countless thousands of innocent people.
He wanted to be like Obama and take out somebody. He always wanted to duplicate something somebody else done. Well, Obama showed us. I need to see it, because I don't believe shit you say. You said you hit the weapons of mass destruction back, what, in May, June? Yeah, and you didn't. Because if you hit it then, what the hell was you aiming for this time? Only difference is you didn't go bragging about the missiles was being released. Yeah, I don't believe you. I need to see it.
All across many countries. Last night, all over Iran, the voices of the Iranian people could be heard cheering and celebrating in the streets when his death was announced.
3 died. Hey, hello, Kitty.
The entire military command is gone as well, and many of them want to surrender into saving their lives. They want immunity.
What hit Israel?
They're calling by the thousands.
Stop it. Ooh.
Combat operations continue at this time in full force, and they will continue until all of our objectives are achieved. We have very strong objectives. They could have done something 2 weeks ago, but they just couldn't get there. Earlier today, CENTCOM shared the news that 3 U.S.
Taking
military
advantage of
service
our
members
U.S. military.
have been killed in action. As one nation, we grieve for the CENTCOM shared the news that 3 U.S. military service members have been killed in action. As one nation, we grieve for the true American patriots who have made the ultimate sacrifice.
They didn't
for our
sacrifice
nation,
for Bibi Netanyahu.
even as we
or
continue the
Israel.
righteous mission for which they gave their lives. We pray for the full recovery of the wounded and send our immense love and eternal gratitude to the families of the fallen. And sadly, there will likely be more. Before it ends, that's the way it is.
Unnecessary.
Likely be more, but we'll do everything possible where that won't be the case. But America will avenge their
You already
deaths
know
and
it won't be
deliver
the case.
most punishing blow to the terrorists who have waged war against basically civilization. They have waged war against civilization itself. Our resolve, and likewise that of Israel, has never been stronger. America is now, again, the richest, most powerful nation in the world by far. But the only reason we enjoy the quality of life that we do...
We rich or you rich? This is the richest you've been by far. Clear that up. Because this shit you doing don't have nothing to do with us. Because it's not our war. These are the people that you are in debt to, the people who have threatened to expose you. Yeah, this is your cult.
Again, the richest, most powerful nation in the world by far. But the only reason we enjoy the quality of life that we do and the freedom and security is we have done things that others.
Me, be clear. Who you talking about, number one drifter? Trump? Put a name on it, please.
Are unable to do. But it's because of warriors who are willing to lay down their lives to do battle with our enemies.
Absolutely.
And they do battle better than anybody. An Iranian regime armed with long-range missiles and nuclear weapons would be a dire threat to every American. We cannot allow a nation that raises terrorist armies to possess such weapons, would allow them to extort the world to their evil will. Not going to let it happen. We're not happening to us, and we're not going to let it happen to others.
It didn't have anything to do with us.
The strongest military the world has ever seen. I rebuilt our military in my first term.
You did not rebuild the military. Oh my God. Why does he have to put his name on everything? Shit was great before you even got here.
There's never been a military like
Hey,
we
Beverly.
possess. And frankly, there's nobody even close, but we are now using that military for good. We want to have it for good purpose. We're undertaking this massive operation not merely to ensure security for our own time and place, but for our children and their children, just as our ancestors have done for us many, many years ago. This is the duty and the burden of a free people. These actions are right and they are necessary to ensure that Americans will never have to face a radical, bloodthirsty terrorist regime armed with nuclear weapons and lots of threats. For almost 50 years, these wicked extremists have been attacking the United States while chanting the slogan,
attacking us?
"Death to America" or "Death to Israel" or both. They are the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. We are the world's greatest and most powerful nation, so we can do something about what they do. These intolerable threats will not continue any longer. I once again urge the Revolutionary Guard, the Iranian military, police, to lay down your arms and receive full immunity or face certain death. It will be certain death. Won't be pretty. I call upon all Iranian patriots who yearn for freedom to seize this moment, to be brave, be bold, be heroic, and take back your country. America is with you. I made a promise to you, and I fulfilled that promise.
You have done nothing but lie. Nothing but lie. You said you was going to end foreign wars. You just started one. Everything that you have said has been a lie. And it is disgusting. God bless us all. And God bless the ones, silly rabbits, who believed that everything that you said that you was going to do. And you've done nothing but line your pockets. Harm our kids. Grape them. Unalive them. Well, yeah, I've been saying he there, but hell, did he get hit? Did he get hit? All them people that's hiding over there that he done let out, moved. Did they get hit? That's the question.
The rest will be up to you, but we'll be there to help. Thank you, God
Ain't that
bless
what?
you to
Ain't that what you
our
told
incredible
Venezuela?
warriors, and God bless the
And you
United
stole
States of
50
America.
gallons?
Thank you.
Oh yeah, we seen her too. I posted her. I was the one who matched them
And
eyes
again, you
together.
just listened to President Trump delivering a message for the first time on social media since those strikes in Iran. We're going to bring in ABC's Selena Wang, who's near Mar-a-Lago. Selena, we just heard the president say that he's hit hundreds of targets, 9 Iran Navy ships and other buildings. He said the Ayatollah is dead, responsible for the slaughter of thousands
Oh, I
of
hope
people.
I
And
totally
most
hop
notably,
out.
President Trump there said that he is sending our immense love and gratitude to the families of the injured and fallen soldiers. Then he went on to say that there will likely be more. Selena, this is the first time we're hearing from the president since his initial video announcing the strike. What did you make of his message?
Yeah, but did he get hit with the strike?
Well, first
is
of
what
all,
I'm
let's just
saying.
acknowledge that the president made this announcement through his own social media account on a video. He did not invite the press pool to witness those remarks and to ask questions, as the president often does.
So,
and
I mean, he
also
lied.
worth pointing out that there were no Trump administration officials on the Sunday shows this weekend. So there have been really no opportunities for groups of reporters and journalists to press this administration about this operation.
Fergie on the
And some
run.
notable points from the president there. As you mentioned, this is the first time the president is publicly addressing the death of
Without-
journalists to
without
administration
no
officials
media.
on the Sunday shows this weekend. So there have been really no opportunities for groups of reporters and journalists to press this administration about this operation. And some notable points from the president there. As you mentioned, this is the first time the president is publicly addressing the death of 3 American service members as part of this Operation Epic Fury. And the president saying that, quote, there will likely be more U.S. casualties. Campaigned on ending these wars and bringing troops back home. But right remarks, this is a president who had...
So he did nothing but lie. Nothing but lie. Everything that he said he was going to do, he did not. He did wars, he started them. I need for us to be absolutely clear. He said he was going to end them, but yet he started wars.
Campaigned on ending these wars in the Middle East, who not launching new ones and bringing troops back home. But right after these remarks, right after the strikes, I remember the president had already warned Americans that there could be more, that there could be U.S. casualties. Also important there, the president said that combat operations continue at this time in full force.
We don't know that, Ken.
Until all of our objectives
Ken,
are achieved.
you're repeating everything that you've just heard Trump and them say. You have no idea. They were in negotiations. He wanted to be cleared by a big Bill. Bill Clinton did not clear him. And the next thing you know, in less than 24 hours, we were at war. So we don't know that. You're repeating. You're on repeat. And we rebuke those lies. You're not God. You don't know what they was going to do. So shut up. Shut up. And get out of this PDFer's ass. And get out of my comment sections with that repeated shit. Bye. Get your ass up out of here. He wanted Bill Clinton to clear him. And Bill didn't. He put his ass on the table. And told him to put his big old diaper on and pull that motherfucker up. And he didn't. Bottom line. He said that pamper was dirty. And he didn't want to pull it up. He'd rather push a button. And start a war. And deflect from the Epstein files. But guess what? Guess what? Epstein had already put it in there. When he's about to be cornered, he is going to go to war. That's documented and dated. And he did exactly what Epstein said his perverted ass was going to do. Big diaper, Beverly. Big old dirty damn diaper. He been wearing that diaper for a couple of damn days. Funky ass. That big ass diaper. Let's go. Starting shit with his scary ass. Now mind you, he avoided war. He said his flat feet. He had flat feet, canker ass toes and ankles and shit. Was set off bombs. He avoided war. And these people up here campaigning for him. Getting our people unalive. Getting our people unalive on shit he avoided with his scary ass.
But right after these remarks, right after the strikes, I remember the president had already warned Americans that there could be more, that there could be US
I know that there is supposed to be a holy war, but that don't mean that this is it. Why are we assuming that this is the holy war? How do we know that? I mean, there was wars a long time ago that people thought was the holy war. How do we know that this is? I just think that's the easy way to think. Yeah, I just think, and that's how they kind of lined it up. But these are the same people who have doctored the Bible to fit their narratives. Remember, it was the Rothschilds who came out with the Schofield Bible that a lot of these preachers are preaching on. So how do we know that? I mean, let's just keep it REAL. How do we know? When all they have done was altered everything, lied to us about everything. How do we know that? We are making that assumption, and they have made that type of assumption years and years every time we went to war. Which Bible, Nico? The one that they doctored? Well, your pastor do. Ask your pastor which one he preach out of. These new easy reading Bibles and all of that has been doctored. I mean, so at this point, yeah. You right, Joe. He does not move on spiritual or Bible. Absolutely not. They do. The cult he is from is everything opposite of the Bible. So for him to make a move, it's opposite of what it really is. He wants people to be stuck on that. He wants people to be stuck on that so that they could be rebuilding and making money. This is about making money. This is not about fulfilling God's word. All I'm saying is I've probably been here longer than you have, ma'am. And I have seen some things be altered and lied. The misconception. A lot of wolves in sheep clothing. That's why Bibi Netanyahu said that he is going to convert, unbeknownst to them now, manipulate, trick, and lie to Christians. We need Christians. Vote Christians. This will be the last time you'll have to vote Christians. The attack is on Christians. And y'all have bypassed the wolf in sheep clothing. Well, let me go on, because you can believe whatever you want to believe. I know that they have altered the Bible.
The president said that,
and a lot of people thinking that this war is about fulfilling God's prophecy about Israel. They still thinking this Israel is the same Israel that God was talking about in the Bible. Silly rabbits who have sat in church all their lives didn't know that this was not the same Israel.
Continue at this time in full force, and they will continue until all of our objectives are achieved. Again, this is an open-ended commitment. Unclear if this is going to be days, weeks, or even months. The president also saying
this
that
is
the
not
entire
our war.
Military command is gone. Many of them want to surrender. They're calling by the thousands.
All right, Selena Wang, thank you. I know you'll be up on this. Thank you.
Yeah, I ain't going. I ain't falling for the banana in the tailpipe. I don't know how many bananas y'all can eat. I ain't no banana eater.
Being penetrated tonight. Not overwhelmed. We are coming to you with urgent breaking developments out of the Middle East. And tonight, the direction of this conflict has shifted in a way that nobody in Washington or Tel Aviv was prepared to see on their screens. Iran is striking Tel Aviv right now, as we speak.
Iran
Videos
was
are flooding in from multiple. We are coming to you with urgent.
How was Iran able to strike Tel Aviv if they had this bomb, this globe, this iron globe that we started, this gold that we started hearing about? How did it strike? How did it hit? I thought they was protected. I thought they was covered. I thought they was protected. I thought they were covered.
Developments out of the Middle East. And tonight, the direction of this conflict has shifted in a way that nobody in Washington or Tel Aviv was prepared to see on their screens. Iran is striking Tel Aviv right now, as we speak. Videos are flooding in from multiple sources
Was that
on the ground
predicted?
in Israel. Iran is striking Tel Aviv right now, as we speak. Videos are flooding. Was prepared.
So yeah,
to see
when
on
you
their
say
screens.
that Epstein's still in Israel, I mean,
Right now,
did he get
as we
hit?
speak. Videos are flooding in from multiple
Everybody who
sources on the
thought
ground in Israel.
that Israel was
We're
safe,
looking at footage showing large explosions in and around
did
the
they
Tel
get
Aviv
hit?
metropolitan area.
They said Bibi
Fires visible
Netanyahu ran
across
his
the
ass
skyline.
off.
Emergency sirens audible in the
He in
background of
Greece.
every clip we are receiving. Residents filming from windows, from rooftops, from streets as projectiles streak across the night. Conflict has shifted in a way that nobody in Washington or Tel Aviv was prepared to see on their screens. Iran is striking Tel Aviv right now, as we speak. Videos are flooding in from multiple sources on the ground in Israel. We are looking at footage showing large explosions in and around the Tel Aviv metropolitan area. Fires visible across the skyline. Emergency sirens audible in the background of every clip we are receiving. Residents filming from windows, from rooftops, from streets as projectiles streak across the night sky. And here's the detail that is stopping every defense analyst we are speaking with tonight dead in their tracks. The Iron Dome is not stopping them. Israel's Iron Dome air defense system, the most battle-tested, most celebrated missile defense architecture in the world, is being penetrated tonight. Not overwhelmed in the sense of being fired at from multiple directions with conventional rockets. Penetrated, bypassed. The incoming projectiles are reaching their targets before the interception system can generate a successful kill. And the reason appears to be what Iran is firing. Iran has shifted to the Fatah missile. And if you are not familiar with that name, you need to be. Because the Fatah changes everything about this conflict and about every assumption that has been made regarding Iran's offensive capability. The Fatah, which translates from Farsi as conqueror, is Iran's domestically developed hypersonic ballistic missile. Iran unveiled it publicly in June 2023, and at the time, Western analysts treated it with a degree of skepticism. The consensus in most defense circles was that Iranian claims about everything about this conflict and about every assumption that has been made regarding
and he said he was going to build one for the U.S. So does that mean that the U.S. can be hit? Yeah. I just did a live about this less than a week ago. Let's go.
Fatah, which translates from Farsi as conqueror, is Iran's domestically developed hypersonic ballistic missile. Iran unveiled it publicly in June 2023, and at the time, Western analysts treated it with a degree of skepticism. The consensus in most defense circles was that Iranian claims about the missile's performance were exaggerated, that the technology was aspirational rather than operational, that Iran was showing the world a weapon it wanted to have rather than one it could actually use effectively in combat. Tonight, that skepticism is being revised in real time. Hypersonic missiles travel at speeds exceeding Mach 5 times the speed of sound. The Fatah is claimed by Iran to reach speeds of Mach 13 to Mach 15 in its terminal phase, the final portion of its flight path as it descends toward its target. At those speeds, the time available for an interceptor missile to detect, track, calculate an intercept solution, launch, and reach the incoming threat before it arrives is measured not in minutes, but in seconds. In some engagement geometries, the available response window falls below what current interceptor technology can operationally achieve. The Iron Dome was designed primarily to intercept short-range rockets and artillery shells, the kind of projectiles that Hamas and Hezbollah have used against Israeli population centers for years. It has been progressively upgraded and supplemented by the David Sling system and the Aero Ballistic Missile Defense System to address longer-range threats. The Aero system in particular was specifically designed with Iranian ballistic missiles in mind. But the Aero system, like all ballistic missile interceptors currently in service, was designed around a particular threat profile: ballistic missiles that follow a predictable arc, missiles whose trajectory can be calculated from the moment of launch, giving the defense system time to position an interceptor in the right place at the right time. The Fatah does not follow a predictable arc. It is a maneuvering hypersonic vehicle. It can alter its flight path during descent. It can change direction. It can target the interceptor itself if the interceptor is visible. These characteristics, speed combined with maneuverability, are precisely the combination that existing missile defense architectures were not fully designed to defeat. The videos coming in from Tel Aviv tonight are showing the consequence of that capability gap. Let us now address the question that every military analyst, every defense official, and every American and Israeli strategic planner needs to answer tonight. Where did the United States and Israel go wrong? Because mistakes were made. That is now undeniable. And understanding those mistakes is not about assigning blame in the heat of the moment. It is about understanding how a conflict that was supposed to be controlled, limited, and decisive has produced images of fires burning in Tel Aviv. The first mistake was the intelligence assessment of Iranian missile capability. For years, the dominant analytical consensus in Western defense circles treated Iranian missile development through a lens of skepticism.
Hey, Samantha.
Iran claimed capabilities. Western analysts discounted those claims. The pattern repeated itself across multiple Iranian weapons programs, and in some cases, the skeptics were right. Iranian military technology has, on multiple occasions, proven less capable in practice than Iranian state media suggested. But the Fatah was different. The underlying physics of hypersonic glide vehicles are well understood. The engineering pathway from ballistic missiles, which Iran has been developing for decades with North Korean and Chinese assistance, to hypersonic maneuvering warheads is a known progression. The warning signs were there. The analytical community did not weight them heavily enough. The second mistake was the assumption about Iron Dome scalability. Iron Dome has an extraordinary combat record against the threat it was designed to defeat. Against conventional rockets fired from Gaza or Lebanon, its interception rates have been consistently high. That success created a psychological confidence in Israel, in Washington, and in the broader Western defense community that Israeli missile defense was effectively solved, that Iran's missiles, whatever their range, would ultimately be intercepted by the layered architecture that Israel had spent billions building. That confidence did not adequately account for what happens when the speed and maneuverability of the incoming threat exceed the design parameters of the interceptor. Iron Dome works against slow threats. David Sling works against medium-range threats following predictable trajectories. Aero works against high-altitude ballistic re-entry vehicles. None of those systems were optimized for a maneuvering hypersonic warhead arriving at Mach 13 in its terminal phase. The gap in that architecture, the gap between what the arrow was designed to defeat and what the Fatah actually is the gap that Iran has just driven its missiles through. The third mistake was strategic overconfidence about the tempo of Iranian escalation. The operation was planned around an assumption that the initial strikes would so severely degrade Iranian military capability, particularly its missile forces and command structure, that Iran's ability to conduct sustained, large-scale retaliation would be fundamentally compromised before that retaliation could be organized and launched. That assumption appears to have underestimated the degree to which Iran had dispersed, hardened, and pre-positioned its most capable missile systems in advance of this conflict. The Fatah batteries that are firing tonight were not destroyed in the opening strikes. They were hidden. They were waiting. Iran's military planners understood that the first hours of any conflict with the United States would involve an attempt to eliminate their strike capability. They planned for it. They protected their best weapons specifically for the moment of maximum retaliation. And that moment is now. Tel Aviv is one of the most densely populated metropolitan areas in the Middle East. Approximately 4 million people live in the greater Tel Aviv area. It is the economic center of Israel, the location of its financial institutions, its technology sector, its media, its commercial infrastructure. It is not a military target in the traditional sense. It is a civilian and economic center. And Iran is striking it tonight with its most advanced weapons. The scenes in those videos, the fires, the sirens, the scale of the damage visible even in early footage, represent something that Israelis have not experienced in this conflict until tonight. The opening hours of this war were about Israeli and American precision striking Iranian targets. The images on the world screens were of Iranian buildings burning, of Iranian air defenses failing, of Iranian infrastructure being systematically destroyed. Tonight, the images are different. Tonight, it is Tel Aviv burning. And that changes the political and psychological dimension of this conflict in ways that are difficult to overstate. For the Israeli public, the experience of watching your own major city struck by missiles that your defense systems cannot stop is a profound shock. Israel's strategic doctrine has always rested on the principle of deterrence, the understanding, maintained through decades of demonstrated military capability, that the cost of attacking Israel would always exceed any conceivable gain for the attacker. That deterrence has not been perfectly maintained tonight. For the American administration, the images from Tel Aviv create an immediate political and diplomatic problem. The operation was presented as controlled, as precise, as a situation in which American and Israeli capabilities were so overwhelming that the risks were manageable. Those images from Tel Aviv are the visual refutation of that framing. They will be on every television screen in America tonight. They will be in every newspaper tomorrow morning. And they will generate questions that the administration will find very difficult to answer with the confidence it projected when the operation began. What happens next is the question that everyone is now asking. Israel will respond to the strikes on Tel Aviv. That response will be severe. The Israeli military and political leadership cannot absorb this kind of imagery. Fires in Tel Aviv, Iron Dome breached, Fatah missiles reaching their targets, without a significant escalation of their own offensive operations. The pressure from the Israeli public and political establishment to demonstrate that this will not stand, that the strikes on Tel Aviv will carry a devastating price, will be overwhelming. But here is the strategic trap that both Israel and the United States are now navigating. Every escalation from this point forward carries greater risk than the one before it. Iran has demonstrated tonight that it has a weapon that existing Israeli missile defense cannot reliably defeat. If Iran has more Fatah missiles, and the assumption must be that it does, because a nation does not deploy its most capable weapon and exhaust its entire stock in a single salvo, then every Israeli decision about how to respond has to account for the possibility of further strikes on Tel Aviv or other major population centers. The conflict that was supposed to be about Israeli and American power projection into Iran has become tonight something more symmetrical and more dangerous than the opening hours suggested. Iran was written off. Its missiles were discounted. Its technology was underestimated. Its willingness to absorb devastating strikes and still find a way to reach Tel Aviv was not fully priced into the strategic calculations that launched this operation. The Fatah missile has just sent a message to every military planner, every defense analyst, and every government watching this conflict from a distance. Iran's missiles are not what the comfortable consensus assumed they were, and Tel Aviv is burning tonight because that assumption was wrong. This is a developing situation. We are monitoring all incoming footage and reports from the ground in Israel. We are tracking Iranian military communications and official statements. We are speaking with defense and intelligence sources on multiple continents. The night in Tel Aviv is not over, and what it looks like by morning will determine what kind of war this becomes. We are coming to you with urgent breaking developments, and what we are about to tell you is something that changes the entire calculus of this conflict. The third wave has arrived. Iran is striking Tel Aviv again. Videos are flooding in right now from across the metropolitan area.
The dome didn't work.
Clips, dozens, from different neighborhoods, different angles, different distances, all documenting the same thing. Explosions, fires, a city absorbing punishment for the third time in less than 24 hours. And this wave is different from the first two, not just in scale, in what it tells us about where this conflict is heading. Because the Patriot batteries are not holding. The Iron Dome is not holding. Two of the most expensive, most battle-tested, most politically significant...
The Iron Dome is not holding. The same Iron Dome I brought mention to last week. That he was like, oh, Israel has their... Darn, BB, you can't take credit for it. It was, the U.S. and we're working on our Iron Dome right now. Shit didn't even work. It didn't work. It's not our war.
And this wave is different from the first two, not just in scale, in what it tells us about where this conflict is heading. Because the Patriot batteries are not holding. The Iron Dome is not holding. Two of the most expensive, most battle-tested, most politically significant air defense systems ever deployed in a single theater are being penetrated simultaneously, again, by a country that the pre-conflict assessment described as militarily degraded. Let us be direct about what that means. After the first wave, American and Israeli commanders conducted emergency recalibration. Battery positions were adjusted. Radar parameters were updated based on the flight profiles observed in the first engagement. Additional interceptor stocks were brought forward. The operational assumption going into the second wave was that the lessons of the first wave had been absorbed and that the defense architecture was better positioned to respond. The second wave proved that assumption wrong. After the second wave, the same process happened again. More adjustments, more recalibration, more confidence expressed in official channels that the systems were adapting to the threat. The third wave is now proving that assumption wrong too. And here's the question that nobody in Washington or Tel Aviv has a comfortable answer to right now. At what point does recalibration stop working? At what point does the pattern of wave, failure, adjustment, failure, adjustment tell us something fundamental about the capability gap between what the Fatah missile is and what the existing defense architecture was designed to defeat? That point may be now. The Patriot system deserves specific examination in the context of this third wave, because its failure carries implications that extend far beyond Israel. The United States has sold or deployed Patriot batteries to dozens of countries across the world. It is the cornerstone of American air defense partnerships, from Europe to the Gulf to the Pacific. Every government that has purchased Patriot, every alliance partner that has built its air defense doctrine around American-supplied technology is watching what is happening over Tel Aviv right now and running its own calculations. Those calculations are not comfortable. The PAC-3 interceptor, the most advanced Patriot variant currently in service, was specifically designed to defeat ballistic missile threats. Its performance record in the Gulf against Houthi missile attacks on Saudi Arabia and the UAE has been used consistently by American defense officials and contractors as evidence of its operational effectiveness. That record was real. Against the threat it was designed to defeat, the PAC-3 performed. But the Fatah is not the threat it was designed to defeat. And the third wave is making that gap visible to every military planner, every procurement official, and every government ally watching this conflict in real time. The Iron Dome failure in this third wave carries a different but equally significant set of implications. Iron Dome was never designed to stop ballistic missiles. Its design parameters are short-range rockets and artillery shells, the threat profile of Hamas and Hezbollah, the kind of projectiles that have been fired at Israeli population centers from Gaza and Lebanon for 2 decades. Its interception rates against that specific threat have been genuinely impressive. That is not in dispute. What is in dispute, what the third wave is settling with brutal finality, is the question of whether Iron Dome's success against one category of threat created a psychological and doctrinal overconfidence that left Israel less prepared for a qualitatively different threat. Whether the billions invested in a system that works extraordinarily well against slow, predictable projectiles created a false sense of security about the broader missile defense architecture's ability to handle fast, maneuvering, hypersonic threats. The answer, visible in the footage coming out of Tel Aviv right now, is yes. Now let us talk about the strategic position that the third wave
I thought the dome wasn't supposed to make it.
For Iran, the third
I thought the dome was supposed to stop all of that.
Physical damage to Tel Aviv. It demonstrates sustainability. One
What
wave
happened to
could be
the
a lucky
dome?
strike. 2 waves could be a prepared reserve being expended. 3 waves tells a different story. 3 waves says that Iran's Fatah capability was not a finite stock that would be exhausted in the opening exchanges. 3 waves says that Iranian military
Israel
planners
was not
built this
supposed to get
capability
hit.
with enough depth to sustain a campaign, not just a single dramatic demonstration.
The dome didn't work.
That sustainability changes the entire strategic picture. If Israel and the United States cannot be certain that a 4th wave, a 5th wave, a 6th wave is not coming, and after 3 waves there is no rational basis for that certainty, then every decision they make about escalation, about continued operations in Iran, about the scope and duration of this conflict, has to be made against the backdrop of an open-ended Iranian capability to strike Tel Aviv. That is not the backdrop that was anticipated when this operation was designed. For Israel, the domestic political pressure generated by a third wave striking Tel Aviv is reaching a level that is difficult to overstate. The Israeli public has absorbed the first wave with shock, the second wave with a mixture of fear and determination. The third wave is something different. The third wave asks a question that the Israeli public and political establishment will demand an answer to. What is the plan? Not the plan for the next strike on Iran. The plan for stopping Iranian missiles from reaching Israeli cities. The plan for defending the population that is now watching its major metropolitan center absorb its 3rd consecutive hypersonic bombardment. That question does not have a good answer right now. And the absence of a good answer is politically toxic in a democracy under fire. For the American administration, the third wave arrives at the worst possible moment in the domestic political cycle. We have covered extensively in our earlier reporting the trajectory that sustained oil price increases and prolonged conflict create for midterm electoral calculations. The third wave adds another layer to that political problem. Not just the economic pain of the Hormuz closure and oil prices pushing toward and past $100, but the visual and emotional impact of American-supplied air defense technology failing 3 times in a row to protect a major allied city from missile attack. American defense contractors, American military credibility, and American alliance commitments are all visibly under stress in the footage coming out of Tel Aviv tonight. That stress will generate congressional hearings. It will generate opposition political attacks. It will generate questions from every American ally
put us
around
all
the
in
world
danger
about the reliability of the defense systems and the defense commitments that American security architecture rests upon. None of those questions are easy. None of them have answers that will satisfy a political opposition looking for vulnerabilities heading into midterm elections. There is a harder military reality underneath all of the political analysis that needs to be stated plainly. The United States and Israel entered this conflict with a specific theory of victory. Strike hard, strike fast. Degrade Iranian military capability below the threshold of effective retaliation and achieve the strategic objectives: denuclearization, regime change, or some combination of both, before the cost of the operation exceeded the political will to sustain it. 3 waves of Fatah missiles striking Tel Aviv suggest that the degradation of Iranian retaliatory capability did not occur at the rate or to the depth that the theory of victory required. Either the strikes on Iranian missile infrastructure were less effective than assessed, or the Fatah inventory was larger and more dispersed than intelligence indicated, or both. Either conclusion requires a fundamental reassessment of the operational picture. Not a tactical adjustment, a strategic reassessment. Because if Iran retains the capability to continue striking Tel Aviv indefinitely, the theory of victory that launched this operation is no longer viable in its original form. What replaces it is the question that American and Israeli commanders are working through in real time right now. With the footage from Tel Aviv's 3rd wave on every screen in the world, there are 3 broad paths forward from this point. The first is continued escalation, dramatically intensifying strikes on Iranian territory in an attempt to finally locate and destroy the remaining Fatah batteries. This path carries the highest risk of further Iranian escalation and the highest risk of the conflict expanding beyond the current theater. The second is a negotiated pause, using back-channel communication, of which there are several active ones according to sources familiar with the situation, to establish a temporary halt to exchanges, while a more permanent framework is explored. This path requires both sides to step back from positions they have publicly committed to, which is politically difficult for both. The third is something that nobody is discussing publicly, but that the military logic of the situation is beginning to make unavoidable. An acknowledgement that the original objectives of the operation need to be recalibrated against the actual cost and duration that achieving them would require. None of these paths is clean. None of them leads to the outcome that the operation was designed to produce. All of them involve accepting a reality that is significantly more complicated and more costly than the one anticipated when the first strikes were authorized. The 3rd wave of Iranian missiles over Tel Aviv is not just a military event. It is a statement about the limits of what air power and precision strike alone can achieve against a determined adversary with dispersed, hardened, and apparently deeper than assessed retaliatory capability. That statement is written in fire across the Tel Aviv skyline, and every government watching tonight is reading it. We are not leaving this coverage. We are monitoring all developments in real time across every available channel. The moment there is confirmed movement, military, diplomatic, or political, we will bring it to you immediately. This has been a breaking news analysis. Stay with us. This story is not over.
More breaking news today. President Trump said if he didn't attack Iran, they would have had a nuclear bomb in, quote, within 2 weeks.
Stop lying.
Meanwhile, Republican Senator Lindsey Graham says the U.S. will not occupy Iran, and it will be up to the people to choose their new leader.
That ain't what Trump trying to act like.
There will be no American boots on the ground. This is not Iraq. This is not Germany. This is not Japan. We're going to free the people up.
Is it Venezuela?
And the goal is not only to help the Iranian people to chart a new destiny.
They didn't ask for your help. Y'all was negotiating. I thought this was a peace treaty. I thought he ended the war. I thought he wanted the Nobel Peace Prize because he was ending the war. Hold on. Don't keep talking over me while I'm trying to stop this shit. I thought that he needed the peace treaty. He ended the war. Huh? I thought this was counted as him in. He started the shit. Because, and let me say it again. I'm going to say it again until it sinks in. He started the war because, but Big Bubba did not save him in that deposition. Let's be clear. He was cornered. There was no way out. It was about to get real fucking sticky, funky, and nasty in here. Not just for him, but some of his other lawmaking partners. Yeah, Bill and Hillary did not save him. They further incriminated him. The next thing you know, Bill Clinton, what'd he say? I woke up to the same thing y'all woke up to. Let me let y'all hear it. Yeah, he woke up to the same thing. It backfired, Chris. Absolutely. And guess what? He really gonna be in trouble with Israel. because the dome didn't stop shit. They still got hit. They still got hit. Dubai got hit. Yeah, he thought that they was just gonna sit down and lay down.
When the weight
Just
of
like
a
you
nation-
thought Bill Clinton was gonna be embarrassed and exposed. No, sir. He said a conversation that y'all had, you and him, was that it was over land. It wasn't about that you thought he was despicable. Now, it didn't work in his favor. And because it didn't work in his favor, and because Comer had to say, well, yeah, we will be revisiting this and we will be revisiting that. Yeah, he said, let's go to war. Because I know good and damn well Iran got some shit on me. They got evidence. And they have threatened to expose it. Yeah. So because they threatened to expose it, Bill didn't clear it. Hey, Kane Life, thank 14-month membership. Way to go. Woo-hoo. Because they did not expose it, he did not help him. He said, let's go. Forget the negotiations. Forget the deadlines. They threatened to expose. Hey, that's what got Epstein in trouble. But you know, Epstein, he's a tricky little one. That's in the Epstein files. What Trump was going to do when his back got pushed against the wall. And the exposure was really, really real in his life. He gonna go to war. And woe and behold, what did the little dirty diaper great ape do? He went to war. Yeah. He didn't save him. He said, but I ate your pickle. Mm-hmm.
You know, I've been around long enough to know that there are days.
So did Monica. And a whole bunch of other people. Let's go.
In the life of a nation. You know, I've been around long enough to know that there are days in the life of a nation. Quiet days, loud days, days that feel ordinary. And then there are the days that change everything. February 28, 2026 is one of those days. And most people, the honest truth is, most people haven't fully grasped yet what happened today or what it's going to mean for this country and for the world in the weeks and months ahead. Now look, I woke up this morning like a lot of you did, and the first thing I saw was a
They told on themselves, Marshmallow.
President Trump declaring that Ayatollah
Hey, Big
Ali
Al.
Khamenei, the supreme leader of Iran for over 36 years, is dead. Killed, he says, in a joint U.S.-Israeli military operation called Operation Epic Fury. He called Khamenei one of the most evil people in history. Those are his words. Let me tell you something. I've sat in that chair. I've given the order to launch strikes. I know what it feels like when the weight of a nation's military power is in your hands and you have to decide right then what kind of president you're going to be. And I can tell you,
this is what would happen to your body if you ate
A clown.
every day. Day one, you take your first gummy.
those decisions, they don't just define a presidency. They define a generation. So what I want to do today is walk through this with you. Not with panic, not with celebration, but with the kind of honest, clear-eyed thinking that moments like this demand from all of us. Because this isn't just about one man in Tehran. This is about congressional authority. This is about whether we still believe in the institutions that make us
who we are. This is about American service members right now, tonight, under fire at a naval base in Bahrain. And we'll come back to that in a moment. But first, we've got to understand how we got here.
Let's go.
Because the decisions that led to this day didn't start this morning. They started a long time ago. Now, to understand what happened today, you've got to understand the road that brought us here. Because this didn't come out of nowhere. This has been building for decades. Iran's nuclear ambitions go back long before most people were paying attention. When I was in office, we were already working behind the scenes, building the diplomatic architecture, the multilateral pressure, the patient coalition work that eventually led to the framework for the JCPOA, the Iran nuclear deal. It wasn't perfect. No deal ever is. But it was something. It was a structure. It kept inspectors on the ground and centrifuges in check. Then in 2018, President Trump withdrew from that deal during his first term, just walked away. And I'll be honest with you, I understood the frustrations with Iran. Everybody did. But when you tear up an agreement and don't replace it with something better, you don't get stability. You get a vacuum. And vacuums in the Middle East have a way of filling themselves with exactly the kind of trouble you were trying to avoid. Fast forward to this very week. Negotiations between the U.S. and Iran over nuclear capabilities collapsed. No agreement, no off-ramp.
And they denied a ceasefire. They
President Trump
said
ordered
no.
strikes and told the American people he had completely and totally obliterated Iran's nuclear program. His words. So the question every American should be asking right now is, if that was true in June, why are we launching Operation Epic Fury in February? Here's what we know. At 1:15 a.m. Eastern Time on February 28th, strikes began. IRGC command centers, air defense systems, missile launch sites, military airfields, all targeted. The Pentagon even confirmed this was the first time the U.S. used low-cost, one-way attack drones in combat. This was not a limited operation. This was a full-scale campaign. We've got to remember something I learned the hard way, dealing with Iraq, North Korea, the Balkans. When diplomacy fails, or when a president stops believing in it, the military option starts looking like the only option. And that, historically, is where the trouble begins. Now let me walk you through what we actually know, because in moments like this, facts matter more than anything, and the facts are moving fast. President Trump posted on Truth Social that Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is dead. His exact words, Khamenei, one of the most evil people in history, is dead. This is not only justice for the people of Iran, but for all great Americans and those people from many countries throughout the world that have been killed or mutilated by Khamenei and his gang of bloodthirsty thugs. 4 Israeli security officials, briefed on intelligence, confirmed that an airstrike hit Khamenei's compound in Tehran directly. But here's where you have to pay close attention. Iran has not confirmed it. The Iranian foreign minister went on record.
Exactly. I need for them to confirm it. I need for him to do like Obama did and show us. I need to see it. Because this sounds too familiar to what's his name? Trump hollering out talking about we obliterated the masters of the weapons of mass destructions, and that was a lie. Cause if you did, then what was y'all hitting for the other day? Yeah, no, I need to see that. Show me.
Khamenei's compound in Tehran directly. But here's where you have to pay close attention. Iran has not confirmed it. The Iranian foreign minister went on record saying both the supreme leader and the president are alive. Now, that could be denial. 4 Israeli security officials, briefed on intelligence, confirmed that an airstrike hit Khamenei's compound in Tehran directly. But here's where you have to pay close attention. Iran has not confirmed it. The Iranian foreign minister went on record saying both the supreme leader and the president are alive. Now, that could be denial. It could be fog of war. But it could also be something else entirely. And we'll come back to that. In a phone call with NBC News, Trump said, the people that make all the decisions, most of them are gone, and that a large amount of leadership was killed. He said the bombing campaign could last a week or as long as necessary. And then he said something extraordinary.
Oh. Please hit the like button.
Gaza is at a tipping point. Yeah.
He urged the Iranian people to seize their government, telling them it will be yours to take.
Lying. They already talking about negotiating, taking over, making deals.
Here's what happened next.
Yeah.
And this is where things start to get complicated. Iran did not sit still. Within hours, Tehran launched retaliatory missile and drone strikes at U.S. military installations across the Middle East. The 5th Fleet headquarters in Bahrain, bases in Kuwait, Qatar, the UAE, and Jordan. At least 5 people are dead. Videos show missiles striking near the heart of America's naval presence in the Gulf. Let me tell you something. When you order strikes of this magnitude, you have to know the response is coming. The question isn't whether they hit back. The question is whether you were ready for what comes after, and whether you had a plan that goes beyond the first 24 hours. Now let me get personal for a moment, because I think this part matters more than people realize. I have ordered military strikes. In 1998, I ordered Operation Desert Fox, 4 days of sustained bombing against Iraq. I ordered cruise missile strikes against al-Qaeda targets in Sudan and Afghanistan after the embassy bombings. I authorized the NATO air campaign in Yugoslavia to stop ethnic cleansing in Kosovo. Every single one of those decisions cost me sleep. Every single one of them I made in consultation with my national security team, with legal counsel, and with serious, sober awareness that American lives and the lives of innocent people abroad hung in the balance. Now look, I'm not saying a president can't act decisively. Sometimes you have to. The world doesn't wait for perfect conditions. But there is a difference, a profound difference, between a president who carries the weight of that decision and a president who seems to celebrate it. President Trump launched Operation Epic Fury without congressional authorization. He announced it in a video posted from Mar-a-Lago. He declared the supreme leader of Iran dead on Truth Social before any official government confirmation had been issued. And in his phone call with NBC
I agree.
News,
This is
When
why I need
asked
to
about
see it.
Iran's next leader, he joked, and I want you to hear this. He said that at some point the Iranians would be calling me to ask who I'd like, and added he was only being a little sarcastic. Let me tell you something. When you are the president
Hey,
of the United
natural and knowledge,
States,
I've been waiting on you.
and you have just ordered
Thank
the
you.
killing of a foreign head of state, sarcasm is not an option.
You're the reason
That
why
is
I went
not a
on
moment
and
for
went live.
showmanship. That is a moment that demands gravity, precision, and the kind of moral seriousness that tells the world and your own citizens that this was a last resort, not a first instinct.
I know.
And
That's why I went ahead and went live. I've been dodging it. I wasn't going to even go.
then there's
You
the
need to
call
hit
for
me up on
regime change.
IG.
The President of the United States went on social media and told for showmanship. That is a moment that demands gravity, precision, and the kind of moral seriousness that tells the world and your own citizens that this was a last resort, not a first instinct. And then there's the
A
call for
last
regime
result.
change.
Hold on, sir. Excuse me. A last result because you didn't clear him. God dang it.
The President of the United States went on social media and told the Iranian people to seize their government. Now, I understand the impulse. There's the call for regime change. The President of the United States went on social media and told the Iranian people to seize their government. Now, I understand the impulse. The Iranian people have suffered enormously under that regime. The protests of 2022, the courage of young Iranian women, that was real, and it mattered. But we learned something in 2003 that we should never forget. We toppled Saddam Hussein. We decapitated the Iraqi regime. And what followed was not democracy. It was a decade of blood, sectarian warfare, the rise of ISIS, hundreds of thousands dead, trillions of dollars spent, and a region more unstable than before we went in. Decapitating a regime without a plan for what comes next
Without a
is
plan.
not victory. It's the beginning of chaos.
And Trump
And
don't
urging
have
the
one.
population
Trump
to
don't have a plan because he thought that gold ass dome was going to stop some shit. He thought it was going to stop it. He told Bibi Netanyahu he can't take full credit for the damn dome and that he was about to build one for the U.S. Well, we don't need him to be a shit for us. Is if the one they build for Israel allowed Iranian missiles to come on through. That mean their asses wasn't safe and our asses won't be safe either. It's not our war. It's not our war. And he only did this because Big Bubba didn't clear his ass. And he knew that what is it called? I can't think of it. All of the informations and the documents and the videos was coming out. He said, fuck that. Fuck that. Let's go to war. Just like Epstein said he was going to do in the Epstein files. Fool, too many people knew your dirt. Let me say it again. Fool, Liz Trump, too many people knew your dirt. There's no way out. I don't care if we are in war. We still want the Epstein files. Unredacted. You gon' stand a camp. You gonna pull that big, dirty, nasty, funky ass diaper up. And you gonna stand in your shit.
overthrow their government via a social media post while your bombs are still falling, that's not liberation. That's improvisation.
They took who picture down?
Dangerous stage in the world. Now I want to talk about something that doesn't get enough attention.
Hey, FBA.
Like
Hey,
this.
original one.
And that's the Constitution.
Who picture they took down?
Because at the heart of everything that happened today, that's the Constitution. Because at the heart of everything that happened today, there is a constitutional question that every American, Democrat, Republican, Independent, should be asking. Did the president have the legal authority to do what he did?
No.
Here's what we know. Democrats in Congress are already preparing.
Naturally knowledge, you know I didn't want to go live.
But it's not just Democrats. Republican Congressman Thomas Massey, a libertarian-leaning conservative from Kentucky, said publicly, "I am opposed to this war. This is not America first." Senator Rand Paul is joining him. And House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries asked the question that I think cuts right to the bone. If President Trump told us last June that he had already completely and totally obliterated Iran's nuclear
program.
Are
saying exactly what I was saying. Oh, I should have found you earlier. I wouldn't have had to been fussing and cussing. He said he already did the damn thing, didn't he? Didn't he? Bill, didn't he? So what the heck? So, again, you co-signing exactly what I said. We are here today and yesterday because your ass didn't relieve him, didn't co-sign for him. He's still in that, that funky, nasty, dirty shit. With Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. The top three. Like I said, nowhere in the Epstein files have they been able to put you with any child saying that you did anything. Are you a cheater? Yes. Have you, have you got caught in some uncompromised? Yes. Yeah. Are you a little freaky little homicide? Yes. But now one of them kids thus far has said you did anything to them. He went to the motel. Y'all just don't know. I have been dodging. That's why I didn't go live yesterday. I wasn't going to go live today. I had, the Bible, God tells you sometimes to be still. I had to be still. I needed to hear. Yeah. But naturally knowledge. She kept saying, I'm waiting to hear from you, Auntie Fee. I'm going to get you caught up. You got free. Yes, I have free memberships over here. So I will give you the tip. Baby, listen, y'all. If anybody want to know where I been and why I'm late to the party, naturally knowledge, no, I wasn't planning on coming. Because I needed to know, I need for them to show his face that he is gone. I wouldn't, He lied too much. This is what happens when you lie too much. People with some sense will be able to say, I ain't falling for that banana in the tailpipe again. I wasn't trying to move. Naturally, knowledge was not playing in my comments on my shorts. Do you hear me? She said she was finna come knock on my door. Get your ass up. And unredacted. Absolutely. Yes. They thought that they was going to be able to pick something out of old Big Bubba. They don't want them transcripts to come out. They don't want the video to come out. He said ain't shit worked. Let me say it again. That cabinet said nothing has worked. We have to go to war. Martin Luther, did he take Bill Clinton's picture down? They didn't have a choice. But as quick as he came out saying, I told her Khomeini was gone, I was like, I need to see it. Yeah. Yeah, I need to see it. Hey, Tehran, I ain't saying he ain't gone, but I need to see it. They showed us Hussam. What's that guy name that Obama took down? I can't think of it. He just said, I can't think. They showed it to us. Yeah, they showed us. You want to show everything else, sucker? Show us. Just like you said you hit the weapons of mass destruction before, and you didn't. Don't, Too Real, put your questions on a super chat or super sticker. If not, don't interrupt what we got going. Only way that you can interrupt it is put it on a super chat or super sticker. Support the platform or keep that to yourself. Answer your own question. Don't ask me shit unless it's on a super chat or super sticker. Support this platform. Hell, you mean? That's just the mood I'm in right now. Women must unite. Yeah, I'm for the victims, boys and girls.
That he had already completely and totally obliterated
Live.
Senator Rand Paul is joining him. And House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries asked the question that I think cuts right to the bone. If President Trump told us last June that he had already completely and totally obliterated Iran's nuclear program, then why is he launching a full-scale bombing campaign 9 months later? That's not a partisan question. That's a logic question.
Go see what.
And it deserves an answer. The War Powers Resolution of 1973 exists for a reason. It was passed in the shadow of Vietnam after years of presidents committing American forces to combat without the consent of the people's representatives. It says the president can act in emergencies.
Hey, I'm in the UK government whistleblower connect.
Within 48 hours and must authorize continued military action within 60 days.
Oh, I don't watch Barron's. Okay.
This is the fundamental mechanism that prevents one person, any one person, from committing 335
Okay, let me listen to this because I haven't heard it. And then I go get it.
Forces to combat without the consent of the people's representatives. It says the president can act in emergencies, but
what was the emergency?
It was passed in the shadow of Vietnam.
Sir, the emergency was you didn't clear him, and he was about to be exposed, and you still gonna be exposed. If Iran don't send nothing our way and blow us all up, cause it's clear we don't have a dome. And hell, the dome, Israel didn't work. And hell, he didn't Dubai. He shit.
It was passed in the shadow of Vietnam after years of presidents committing American forces to combat without the consent of the people's representatives. It says the president can act in emergencies, but Congress must be notified within 48 hours and must authorize continued military action within 60 days. This isn't bureaucratic red tape. This is the fundamental mechanism that prevents one person, any one person, from committing 330 million Americans to war on their own judgment. Now, Secretary Rubio briefed the Gang of Eight, the senior congressional leaders with intelligence clearance, but one member was reportedly unreachable. And let me
Thank
be very
you.
clear about something. Briefing is not authorization. Informing Congress is not the same as consulting Congress. I went through this during Kosovo and Iraq. My legal team and I spent hours, long, unglamorous hours, making sure we had the constitutional
Thank
footing
you,
to
Natural
act.
Northlands, and
Not
everybody
because I
who
wanted to
sent
slow things down,
something for that
but
first
because I understood
hour
that
ago.
when a president acts within the law, the action has legitimacy. And legitimacy is what sustains a policy beyond the first news cycle.
Hey there, I'm Bridget Bartlett, and I want to talk to you about something that is on every entrepreneur's mind right now.
I want to give credit to Democrats like John Fetterman and Tom Suozzi, who've said they support the objective of neutralizing Iran's nuclear threat, but insist on constitutional process. That's not weakness, that's exactly right. You can agree with the goal and still say the process was wrong. In fact, that's what the Constitution demands of us. Now let me widen the lens, because what happened today didn't happen in a vacuum. The entire world is watching, and how they interpret what America just did will shape the next decade of global politics. Russia has already condemned the strikes as premeditated aggression. Now, you and I both know that Vladimir Putin's moral authority on the subject of unprovoked military action is, to put it charitably, limited. But the fact that Moscow is positioning itself as a critic of American military overreach tells you something about the information war that's already underway.
Say that again about
Politico
Putin.
that said provoke military action is, to put it charitably, limited. Russia has already condemned the strikes. Interpret what America just did will shape the next decade of global politics. Russia has already condemned the strikes as premeditated aggression. Now, you and I both know that Vladimir Putin's moral authority on the subject of unprovoked military action is, to put it charitably, limited. But the fact that Moscow is positioning itself as a critic of American military overreach tells you something about the information war that's already underway. There was a headline in Politico that said, Putin's friendship has limits, as Khamenei just found out. And that's true. But I want to flip that around. What about America's friendships? Our Gulf partners, Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, the UAE, Jordan, they host our military bases. They are foundational to our force projection in the region. And tonight, they are absorbing Iranian missiles because of an operation they had no meaningful say in. At least 5 people are dead. Think about that. If you're the Emir of Qatar or the King of Jordan, and American strikes just made your country a target, and nobody called you first to ask whether you were ready, what does that do to the trust that holds those alliances together? Saudi Arabia condemned Iran's retaliatory strikes, which tells you the Saudis are trying to thread a needle, opposing Iran.
Imagine being able to build anything just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
Without fully endorsing
So
the
he
way
just
this
started
was
shit
Iran's
all the way
retaliatory
around.
strikes, which tells you the Saudis are
Bill
trying to thread a
didn't
needle, opposing Iran without fully
clear
endorsing
him.
the way this was carried out. The UN Security Council has been called into emergency session. Oil markets are in turmoil, which means every American is going to feel this at the gas pump and in their grocery bill in the weeks ahead. Here's the honest truth. American power is most effective when it's most legitimate. When the world sees us acting not just with
So
strength,
we gonna be
but with
affected
wisdom,
in a war that's not
with
ours.
allies who are genuinely consulted, and with legal authority that the international community recognizes. When we act alone, when we act without process, when we announce wars on social media, we may achieve a short-term military objective, but we pay a long-term strategic price. Our alliances fray, our credibility erodes, and the next time we need the world to stand with us, there are fewer hands raised. I spent my presidency building coalitions, sometimes painfully, sometimes slowly. But I can tell you, the coalitions that held together were the ones where every partner felt they had a voice. That's not weakness, that's how you sustain power. Now here's the part that keeps me up at night, and I think it should concern every American, because the strikes are only the beginning. What matters now is what follows. And there are several paths this could take, and not all of them lead somewhere good. The first possibility, and it's the one the administration seems to be banking on, is regime collapse. If Khamenei is truly
It's
dead,
what now? Say that again.
because the strikes are only the beginning. What matters now is what follows. And there are several paths this could take, and not all of them lead somewhere good. The first possibility, and it's the one the administration seems to be banking on, is regime collapse. If Khamenei is truly dead, and a large portion of Iran's senior leadership has been eliminated, then Iran faces a succession crisis unlike anything in its modern history. Reports suggest Khamenei had designated Ali Larijani as a contingency leader. But the IRGC, the Revolutionary Guard, has its own power centers. Hardline clerics will have their candidates. Reformists, to the extent any survive, will try to stake a claim. And when you have multiple armed factions competing for control of a country with nuclear knowledge, ballistic missile technology, and proxy networks across 4 countries, that is not liberation. That is a
Brainwashed
powder
indeed.
keg. I keep coming back
They
to
believed it.
Iraq. We toppled Saddam. We were told we'd be greeted as liberators. And what followed was not democracy. It was a decade of blood, the rise of ISIS, and a region more fractured than before. I pray that's not what happens in Iran. But hope is not a strategy. The second possibility is that the regime doesn't collapse, it consolidates. Harder. The hardliners rally. The IRGC tightens its grip. And Iran's proxy networks, whatever remains of Hezbollah, the Houthis in Yemen, militia groups in Iraq and Syria, activate fully. We're not talking about one conflict anymore. We're talking about a multi-front regional war that could drag in American forces for years. The third possibility, and the one I hold out hope for, is a negotiated off-ramp. That somewhere in Tehran and somewhere in Washington, there are rational actors who understand that escalation leads nowhere good, and who are willing to do the hard, quiet, unglamorous work of finding a way to step back from the brink. That kind of diplomacy doesn't make for good social media posts, but it's the only thing that actually saves lives. President Trump said the operation is already a success and that it would take them years to rebuild. I've heard presidents say things like that before.
So we got to rebuild it.
The question isn't whether you can destroy something. The question is whether you can build something better in its place. And right now, I haven't heard an answer to that question. Let me close with this. I am not going to stand here and pretend that Ayatollah Khamenei's regime was anything other than what it was: brutal, repressive, hostile to its own people and to the world.
Well, that's Trump.
We're not talking about one conflict anymore. We're talking about a multi-front regional war that could drag in American forces for years. The third possibility, and the one I hold out hope for, is a negotiated off-ramp. That somewhere in Tehran and somewhere in Washington, there are rational actors.
That's why they got to hit the like
who
button.
understand that escalation leads nowhere good, and who are willing to do the hard, quiet, unglamorous work of finding a way to step back from the brink. That kind of diplomacy doesn't make for good social media posts, but it's the only thing that actually saves lives. President Trump said the operation is already a success and that it would take them years to rebuild. I've heard presidents say things like that before. The question isn't whether you can destroy something. The question is whether you can build something better in its place. And right now, I haven't heard an answer to that question. Let me close with this. I am not going to stand here and pretend that
Thank you,
Ayatollah
Any
Khamenei's
Honey
regime
G,
was anything
for
other
the
than
Sheba,
what
the
it
lucky
was:
Sheba.
brutal, repressive, hostile to its own people and to the world. Iran's nuclear ambitions were real. The threat was serious. And I give credit to the men and women in uniform and in intelligence who executed this operation with extraordinary precision, and to the coordination with Israel, which was clearly significant. But the measure of a great nation isn't just whether it can eliminate its enemies. It's whether it can do so in a way that makes the world more stable, more lawful, and more just. And that's where I have questions, serious questions. Tonight, there are young Americans in uniform at that naval base in Bahrain, kids from Ohio and Georgia and California, who are under missile fire because of decisions made in the last 72 hours. They didn't get a vote. They didn't get consulted. They serve because they believe in this country, and they deserve leaders who exhaust every option before putting them in harm's way. And I think about the Iranian people, millions of them, young people, women, students, have risked their lives protesting that regime. The 2022 uprising, the Woman Life Freedom Movement, that was their courage, their blood. They deserve self-determination. They deserve the right to choose their own future. But self-determination means exactly that. It comes from within. It is not regime change imposed from the outside at 1:15 in the morning by another country's bombs. So here's what I'm asking of every American tonight. I'm asking you to pay attention. I'm asking Congress, both parties, to assert its constitutional role, not next month.
Can you send it to my IG?
Now.
Fee about the facts.
I'm asking the administration to present a plan, not a social media post, a plan.
A plan.
At 1:50. But self-determination means exactly that. It comes from within. It is not regime change imposed from the outside at 1:15 in the morning by another country's bombs. So here's what I'm asking of every American tonight. I'm asking you to pay attention. I'm asking Congress, both parties, to assert its constitutional role, not next month, now. I'm asking the administration to present a plan, not a social media post, a plan for what comes after the bombs stop falling. And I'm asking all of us to remember that democracy is not a spectator sport. It requires
It's not a sport.
people, women, students, have risked their lives protesting that regime. The 2022 uprising, the Woman Life Freedom Movement, that was their courage, their blood. They deserve self-determination. They deserve the right to choose their own future. But self-determination means exactly that. It comes from within. It is not regime change imposed from the outside at 1:15 in the morning by another country's bombs. So here's what I'm asking of every American tonight. I'm asking you to pay attention.
It's about
I'm asking
2025.
Congress, both parties, to assert its constitutional role, not next month, now. I'm asking the administration to present a plan, not a social media post, a plan for what comes after the bombs stop falling.
Right.
And I'm asking all of us to remember that democracy is not a spectator sport. It requires every single one of us to stay engaged, stay informed, and hold our leaders to the highest standard, especially when the stakes are life
What are you talking about?
and death.
This was dated on the no, this is talking about the bombing. What he woke up to with the bombs. What are you talking about, Deetra? He's talking about the bombs. Where you been? How you just gonna pop up in here with some lies?
Hours, Tehran launched retaliatory missile.
What are
and
you
drone
talking about,
strikes
Deetra?
At U.S. military installations across the Middle East.
Deetra, what are you talking about? He's talking about bombs in the Middle East. He's talking about Trump said that Ayatollah Khomeini was unalive. What are you talking about?
All great Americans and those and vacuums in the Middle East have a way of filling themselves.
What are you
with
talking about?
exactly-
I'm going to ask you to retract your own lie, Deidre Washington. Retract your own lie. We'll wait. We will wait. Don't come in here lying. You didn't even hit the like button. You just came in here lying.
On strikes.
You're not going to delete it?
I know what it feels like.
You're not
when
going
the
to
weight
retract
of
your
the nation's
lie?
Military power is in your hands, and you have to decide right then what
Get your
kind
ass
of
up outta
president you're
here.
going to be. And I can tell you, those decisions, they don't just define a presidency.
Don't come in here lying.
They define a generation. So what I want to do today is walk through this with you.
Listen with
Not
your good ear.
panic, not with celebration, but with the kind of honest, clear-eyed thinking that moments like this demand from all of us. Because this isn't just about one man in Tehran. This is
F-E-E.
about congressional authority. This is about whether we still believe in the institutions that make us who we are. This is about American service members right now, tonight, under fire at a naval base in Bahrain.
Okay, now what does that have to do with a deposition earlier this week? See, this is what I'm talking about. You come in here running your mouth, popping your gums, didn't look at the title, didn't listen to anything he had to say. You came in here lying. Just like the diaper wearing a predator that you support and love. Get out of his ass and listen with your own ear. Don't come in here lying. No, it's not allowed.
And we'll come back to that in a moment. But first, we've got to understand how we got here. Because the decisions that led to this day didn't start this morning. They started a long time ago. Now,
Oh, the one I
understand what
saw was
happened
hidden.
today, you've got to understand the road that brought us here. Because this didn't come out of nowhere. This has been
Clinton.
building for
They had
decades.
Clinton ass cross table.
Iran's nuclear ambitions go back long before most people were paying attention. When I was in office,
Hold on.
we were already working behind
She
the
took her
scenes,
life back, y'all.
building the diplomatic architecture, the multilateral pressure, the patient coalition work that eventually led to the framework for the JCPOA.
Hold on. I had to backtrack that somewhat so she could hear why she needed to take her lie back. Now she's not even allowed over here. Do not come over here lying. I will remove you. Oh, most people. Is this a different one? Hold on.
You know, I've been sitting here watching the news these past 36 hours like the rest of you.
Let's go.
And I want to talk to you not as a former president, but as a fellow American who's seen a few of these moments before.
Let's go.
Because this is one of those moments. The kind that doesn't just change the headlines for a week.
Hold on, let me go get my other device.
Of a nation.
Y'all hit
for
the
a
like
generation.
button.
Now look, when I heard that the United States had launched what the administration is calling Operation Epic Fury, a massive
Operation
joint
Epstein.
military offensive against Iran,
Fury.
I did what I always do. I took a breath. I tried to get the facts. And then I started asking the questions that I believe every American has a right to ask. We were told that hundreds of targets were struck, Revolutionary Guard facilities, air defense systems, 9 naval ships destroyed in minutes. And then the news that Ayatollah Khamenei, the supreme leader of Iran, was dead. Let me tell you something. That is not a small thing. That is an earthquake in the international order. And earthquakes have aftershocks. But here's what caught my attention most. The President of the United States announced all of this in a 6-minute video on Truth Social. Not from the Oval Office, not before a joint session of Congress, not with the weight and solemnity that sending Americans into combat demands. And we'll come back to that in a moment, because I think the way this was communicated tells us something important about the way this decision was made. Now, I've been around long enough to know that when a president commits American forces to combat, the first question isn't whether we can win. We have the most powerful military the world has ever known. The first question is whether we did it the right way, whether we brought the American people along, whether we respected the institutions that exist precisely for moments like this. Because I'll tell you from experience, the decisions you make in the first 48 hours of a military operation shape everything that follows. Everything. The alliances you build, the legitimacy you carry, the trust you earn. So tonight I want to walk through what happened, what it means, and what I believe comes next. And I want to do it honestly. Let me tell you what I know about Iran, because I didn't just read about it in briefing books. I lived it from behind that desk in the Oval Office. When I was president, I dealt with Iran every single day in one form or another. Whether it was their support for Hezbollah, their efforts to destabilize the Gulf, or the early warning signs of a nuclear program that nobody wanted to talk about publicly yet. I ordered strikes against Iraq in 1993 and again in 1998. I understood the weight of those decisions. And I understood something else, that the Middle East doesn't operate on simple logic. Every action creates 10 reactions, and most of them you didn't plan for. Now we've got to remember where this story really begins. It goes back to 1979, the revolution, the hostage crisis, the beginning of a relationship defined almost entirely by hostility and mistrust. For nearly 50 years, Iran has been a state sponsor of terror. They've funded Hamas, they've funded Hezbollah, they've armed militias across Iraq and Syria. Nobody serious disputes that. But here's the honest truth. There was a moment when we had a different path. The JCPOA, the nuclear deal negotiated under President Obama in 2015, wasn't perfect. I said so at the time, but it was something. It was a framework. It had inspections. It had verification. It had buy-in from our European allies, from Russia, from China. And in 2018, President Trump walked away from it. No replacement, no alternative framework, just maximum pressure, and a bet that isolation would bring Iran to its knees. It didn't. What it did was accelerate their enrichment program, harden the regime's grip on power, and narrow the diplomatic space to almost nothing. So when people ask me, was military action against Iran inevitable? I say no, it was never inevitable. But it became a lot more likely the day we abandoned the only diplomatic architecture we had. And that's not hindsight. I said it then, and I'm saying it now. Nobody in their right mind thinks the Iranian regime is a force for good.
Oh, hold on.
That is not the question.
So there was something
The
in
question
place
is how
that
a
he
great
knocked down
democracy
because it
confronts
had
that threat.
Obama on
And
it.
whether
Hold
we do
on.
it in a way that makes us
I need to
stronger
hear that again. We
or
need to
weaker
hear that again.
in the long
and
run.
replaced it with nothing.
Now let me walk you through what we actually know. Because in moments like this,
Hold on.
facts matter more than anything.
See, this is why
On February
all
28,
that, this is
2026,
is no.
the United States and Israel
It's
launched
totally,
Operation Epic
Hold on,
Fury,
I'm trying to get there.
a
Hold on.
coordinated military offensive against Iran.
So tell us
that the
again
president himself
what was in place.
described, and that's not hindsight. I said it. And in 2018, Hamas, they funded Hezbollah. Now we've got to remember where this story really begins. It goes back to 1979.
I know good and damn well you're not in here.
The hostage crisis. The beginning of a relationship defined almost entirely
Naturally,
by
knowledge you let
hostility
him
and
spam.
mistrust. For nearly 50 years, Iran has been a state sponsor of terror. They funded where this story really begins. It goes back to 1979. The revolution,
Hi,
the
Walter.
hostage crisis,
Hi, Greg.
the beginning of a relationship defined almost entirely by hostility and mistrust. For nearly 50 years, Iran has been a state sponsor of terror. They've funded Hamas, they've funded Hezbollah, they've armed militias across Iraq and Syria. Nobody serious disputes that. But here's the honest truth. There was a moment when we had a different path. The JCPOA, the nuclear deal negotiated under President Obama in 2015.
President Obama,
wasn't
2015.
perfect. I said so at the time.
It wasn't what?
But it was something. It was a framework. Wasn't perfect.
It wasn't perfect.
I said so at the time. But it was something.
It was something.
It was a framework. It had inspections. It had verification. It had buy-in from our European allies, from Russia, from China. And in 2018, President Trump walked away from it. no replacement, no alternative framework, just maximum pressure, and a bet that isolation would bring Iran to its knees. It didn't. What it did was accelerate their enrichment program, harden the regime's grip on power, and narrow the diplomatic space to almost nothing. So when people ask me, was military action against Iran inevitable? I say no, it was never inevitable. But it became a lot more likely the day we abandoned the only diplomatic architecture we had. And that's not hindsight. I said it then, and I'm saying it now. Nobody in their right mind thinks the Iranian regime is a force for good. That is not the question. The question is how a great democracy confronts that threat, and whether we do it in a way that makes us stronger or weaker in the long run. Now let me walk you through what we actually know, because in moments like this, facts matter more than anything. On February 28, 2026, the United States and Israel launched Operation Epic Fury, a coordinated military offensive against Iran that the president himself described as one of the largest and most complex operations
is he telling them to bomb? You say
hundreds of targets were hit.
Save the
Revolutionary Guard
the hospitals,
air defense systems.
Hold on. Yeah, he telling them.
Child molester. Child molester. Child molester. Child molester. Child molester.
He's saying bomb the hospitals. They still talking about the Epstein files. What the hell is going on?
Child molester.
They saying child molester, child molester, child molester, child molester. Bomb, yeah. Yeah, now you telling them to bomb the hospitals. They're still talking about the Epstein files. What? U.S. is now striking hospitals in Iran, huh? It didn't go nowhere. They still talking about I'm a apist. You understand? We ain't budging. You can say what the fuck you want to say. We ain't budging. Release the full unredacted Epstein files. It's an Epstein war. Hey, Mrs. Tom, that's exactly what it is. He thought we was slow. He thought we was gonna be late to the party. War makes orphans. Absolutely. J-Dub, what it do? What it do? We ain't going nowhere. We are not falling for the bananas in the tailpipe. It's in the Epstein files. When your back is up against the wall and your ass don't have nowhere to go, you gonna push the button to start a war. And that's what the you did. You should have left them kids, boys and girls, alone. The veil is off. That dome didn't do shit. It's time for you to pull that nasty, funky ass diaper up. Man, fuck up. Yeah, with that funky ass diaper on. Them goddamn tonsil stones and shit in your mouth. And stand in that nasty shit that you created. Yeah, you never thought we was gonna find out how nasty your ass is. You sick in the motherfucking head. Yeah, I said it. Who said tripping? Yeah, now he said that's not good enough. They are still talking about him aping those girls. Start bombing the hospital, Pete. I don't know what that means, but let's finish listening to Bill while I try to find Naturally Nolans. Let's go. Let's go. Come on, Bill, finish. Obama has something. Obama has something. He tore it up and had nothing. How long Obama been out of office? Yeah.
And most complex operations the world has ever seen. Hundreds of targets were hit.
Taco, she talking to you. You need to answer, Ms. Tom.
Systems across the country. 3 nuclear sites, Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan, struck with what the president called a full payload of bombs. 9 Iranian naval ships destroyed, along with their shipbuilding infrastructure, all in a matter of minutes. And then the most consequential fact of all, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader of Iran for 36 years, was killed in the strikes. The entire senior military command was reportedly eliminated alongside him. The president said thousands of Iranian military and police were calling to surrender, seeking immunity. Let me also tell you what else happened. 3 American service members were killed in action. Iran launched counterattacks on U.S. military bases in the region, fired missiles toward Israel, and struck targets in Gulf states, including Qatar and the UAE. Explosions were heard across the Middle East. Oil markets went into immediate turmoil. The Strait of Hormuz, through which roughly 20% of the world's oil passes every single day, faces potential disruption. And here is where I need you to pay very close attention. In that 6-minute video, the president didn't just announce a military operation.
He said, I did it for you.
He called
I did it for
on the
you.
Iranian
I did it for
military
you. I
to
did it for you.
surrender
I did
or
it for
face
you. I did it
certain
for you.
death.
Show me the money.
He urged the Iranian people to rise up and take back their country. He explicitly called for regime change. Now that last part, that's where things start to get complicated, because regime change is not a military objective. It's a political ambition. And there is a very big difference between certain death. He urged the Iranian people to rise up and take back their country. He explicitly called for regime change. Now that last part, that's where things start to get complicated.
Net tiny who?
Regime change is not a military objective. It's a political ambition. And there is a very big difference between destroying a government's capacity to threaten you and deciding you're going to choose what comes next for 88 million people. History has taught us that lesson more than once, and it taught it to us the hard way. Here's something I learned sitting in that chair. The way you start a war determines how it ends, every single time. Now look, when a president sends Americans into harm's way, there is a sacred obligation that comes with that decision. You owe it to the country to exhaust every alternative.
Absolutely.
You owe it to Congress
to the U.S.
to bring them into the room. And you owe it to the men and women in uniform to make sure the mission is clear, the strategy is sound, and the objectives are achievable. That's not politics. That's the basic architecture of how a constitutional democracy wages war. Article 1 of the Constitution gives Congress, not the president, the power to declare war. That's not an accident. The founders put that there because they understood what happens when one person has unchecked authority to commit a nation to conflict. And what happened here? These strikes were launched without
Fort Knox military base. Kentucky begins transporting large object following recent alien encounters. After he gave permission to release something on aliens. They made him too skinny to survive. I'm trying to get there. I'm seeing all this other stuff. Ain't no way grateful. I hope not. But they sure got it blinking live up there. Channel 6, Kentucky. That's coming from Channel 6, Kentucky. Live. Channel 6, Kentucky. And Channel 9, Northern Kentucky. He don't want them Epstein files out. He thought bringing up them aliens was gonna do it.
Congressional authorization. Democrats and even some Republicans have said publicly that they were not consulted. Hakeem Jeffries has pledged to force a war powers vote. The New York Times is reporting that lawmakers are questioning whether an imminent threat is ever truly established. Let me tell you something from experience.
Let me get back to it.
When I ordered strikes, I understood that I was borrowing authority from the American people through their representatives. Even when I acted quickly, I knew I owed Congress answers.
Right.
Real answers.
Not no
a social
bullcrap.
media video. And that brings me to the communication itself. The President of the United States announced a major war with American casualties, with a foreign head of state killed, with counterattacks already underway, in a 6-minute video on Truth Social. Not from the Oval Office, not before the American people in a formal address, not with the gravity and solemnity that the moment demanded. I listened to the language, the branding, the boasting about military rebuilding, the personal credit taking, and I thought to myself, this is a moment that calls for Lincoln. And what we got was a press release.
I don't have no hidden messages. I don't have no messages, naturally, Norman.
Were diplomatic options
or message requests.
Because I'll tell you, when you start dropping bombs, diplomacy doesn't stop. It just gets a lot harder and a lot more expensive. And the families of those 3 fallen service members deserve to know that every single alternative was tried before their loved ones were put in the line of fire. Now I want to talk about something that doesn't make the headlines as easily as explosions and military strikes, but matters just as much, maybe more. What this does to our democracy at home. We've got to remember that the founders designed a system with checks and balances for exactly this kind of moment. They didn't want kings. They didn't want emperors. They wanted a president who was powerful enough to act, but accountable enough to answer. And what we've just witnessed is the most significant military operation in decades, being launched by one man, announced on a social media platform, without the informed consent of the people's representatives in Congress. Now Congress is scrambling to assert its authority after the fact. War powers resolutions are being drafted. Votes are being demanded. But let me ask you something. If you have to fight to be included in a decision after the bombs have already fallen, what does that tell you about the health of your institutions? Let me put it this way. If the mayor of your town decided to demolish the town bridge and build a new one without telling the city council, without a public hearing, without giving a single citizen the chance to ask a question, you'd be outraged. And what we're talking about here is not a bridge, it's a war. It's American lives. It's the future of an entire region. And this is part of a larger pattern that concerns me deeply. The erosion of congressional oversight, the concentration of decision-making in the executive branch, the use of social media as a governing tool rather than a communications supplement. When the platform where you announce a war is the same platform where people post memes and conspiracy theories, something has gone fundamentally wrong with how we treat the gravity of these decisions.
So, Bob, you still here?
I'll also say, and I think this is important, Democrats themselves are split on this. Some support the strikes on national security grounds. Others are calling it a war of choice. And you know what? That honest disagreement is actually democracy working the way it should. People wrestling with hard questions in public.
This the one I saw. You see it in the middle?
That's the system functioning. What isn't the system functioning is when those people are cut out of the decision entirely and left to debate the wreckage after the fact. Even if this operation succeeds militarily, and I pray that it does for the sake of every American in uniform tonight, the precedent it sets is dangerous. A president launching a major war unilaterally,
is
branding it
dangerous.
like a product, calling for regime change without a strategy debated by Congress. That weakens something inside our democracy. That's the system functioning. What isn't the system functioning is when those people are cut out of the decision entirely.
Yeah, because
and
the one
left
you
to
saw
debate the
was
wreckage after the
was
fact.
Trump, wasn't it?
Even if this operation succeeds militarily, and I pray that it does for the sake of every American
It's
in uniform
old, though.
tonight, the precedent it sets is dangerous. A president launching a major war unilaterally, branding it like a product, calling for regime change without a strategy debated by Congress. That weakens something inside our democracy that's very hard to rebuild.
They tripping big time.
Once it's broken. Now I want to ask a question that may make some people uncomfortable, but I think it has to be asked. In a moment like this, who benefits politically? Look, I'm not going to sit here and accuse any president of starting a war for poll numbers. I wouldn't want that said about me, and I won't say it about anyone else. But here's what I will say. When you make a decision this consequential, when American lives are on the line, when oil prices are surging past $100 a barrel, When the Strait of Hormuz is effectively shut down and tanker traffic has halted, you have to be able to look the American people in the eye and say, I did this for you and your children, not for me and my political standing. That's a test every president has to pass, and the American people are the ones who grade it. What concerns me is the strategic gamble at the heart of this. The president is betting that by decapitating the regime, killing the supreme leader, destroying the military command, calling on the people to rise up, this ends quickly and decisively. And I understand the appeal of that logic, but I've seen this movie before. We saw it in Iraq in 2003. We saw it in Libya in 2011. Destroying a regime is the easy part. It's what comes after that breaks you. You need a political plan for 88 million people. You need allies who are genuinely with you, not just quietly nodding while hedging their bets. NATO allies are already expressing concern. Gulf states that host our bases just got hit by Iranian missiles in Bahrain and Qatar. The coalition behind this is thinner than we're being told, and the strength of any military operation is measured not just by firepower, but by the legitimacy and partnership behind it. Now, let me tell you what keeps me up at night, because I think you deserve honesty about where this could go.
Let's go.
Scenario one, the best case. The strikes succeed. Iran's nuclear capability is destroyed. The regime collapses. The Iranian people, who have shown incredible courage in protests over the years, build something new. That would be a historic achievement. But let me be clear about what that requires. Years of sustained diplomatic engagement, economic support, international cooperation, and a patience that, frankly, I'm not sure the American public has the appetite for after 2 decades in Afghanistan and Iraq. Nation building is not a 6-minute video. It's a generational commitment. Scenario two, the regime is degraded but survives. It goes underground, and what you get is a prolonged asymmetric war. Proxy attacks on our bases across the region. Hezbollah has already warned of a major response. Oil prices are already spiking. Analysts are saying one day of a full Hormuz blockade could push crude to $120 a barrel or higher. That hits every American family at the gas pump and the grocery store. Cyber attacks on our infrastructure, a slow bleed that drains our treasury and our patience.
Are y'all listening with y'all good ear?
Economic support, international people who have shown incredible courage in protests over the years, build something new. That would be a historic achievement. But let me be clear about what that requires. Years of sustained diplomatic engagement, economic support, international cooperation, and a patience that, frankly, I'm not sure the American public has the appetite for after 2 decades in Afghanistan and Iraq. Nation building is not a 6-minute video. It's a generational commitment. Scenario two, the regime is degraded but survives. It goes underground, and what you get is a prolonged asymmetric war. Proxy attacks on our bases across the region. Hezbollah has already warned
Ronald.
of a major response. Oil prices are already spiking. Analysts are saying one day of a full Hormuz blockade could push crude to $120 a barrel or higher. That hits every American family at the gas pump and the grocery store. Cyber attacks on our infrastructure, a slow bleed that drains our treasury and our patience. Scenario 3, regional escalation. Iran's counterattacks have already hit Bahrain, Qatar, the UAE, and Israel. If Hezbollah fully activates, if Iraq destabilizes further, if Russia or China see an opportunity to exploit the chaos, then we're not talking about one conflict anymore. We're talking about something much larger. Scenario 4, a humanitarian catastrophe inside Iran. Civilian casualties mounting. A refugee crisis that destabilizes every neighbor. And the administration has not told us what peace looks like. You can win every battle and still lose the war.
Absolutely.
If you don't know what the end game is. I'm still waiting to hear what peace looks like. Let me close with this, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Tonight, 3 American families are grieving. 3 service members who put on the uniform, raised their hand, and gave everything for this country. And the president himself has said there will likely be more. Whatever I think about the decisions that led to this moment, my first thought and my last thought are with them. Every criticism I've made tonight is not of the men and women serving. It is of the process that sent them there. I have always believed, and I believed it when I sat in that office, and I believe it now, that America is strongest when we lead with our values, when we act through our institutions, when we build real coalitions, when we exhaust every diplomatic option before we drop the first bomb. And when we go to war, we do it as a last resort with the informed consent of the American people through their elected representatives in Congress. The Iranian regime is dangerous. Preventing a nuclear Iran is a legitimate goal. I will not dispute that. But how we achieve that goal defines who we are as a nation. And right now, I worry that we've chosen a path that may achieve a tactical victory while doing lasting damage to the constitutional principles that make us worth defending in the first place. So here is what I'm asking. I'm asking Congress to assert its authority, not next month, now. I'm asking the administration to present a clear strategy with defined objectives, a realistic timeline, and an exit framework. And I'm asking every American to demand accountability, because this democracy does not belong to one party or one president. It belongs to all of us. I have always believed that America's greatest strength is not our military, though it is the finest the world has ever seen. It's our capacity to correct course. We've done it before, we can do it again. But only if we remember that no one person, no matter how powerful, gets to decide alone when and where we go to war. Let's get this right. We owe it to those 3 families. We owe it to every service member out there tonight. And we owe it to ourselves. Thank you for listening. And God bless the United States.
of America. Most people don't. Yeah, God bless us. Hold on. Oh my goodness. Hold on. Let me reach y'all. Let me take y'all to the next one. I still can't find you, Natural New Orleans. Yeah, that dome didn't work. We don't want that. We don't want it. We can't do nothing with it. If it didn't work for Israel, we know it ain't gonna work for us. Cause your priority is Israel. Yeah. We don't want that crap. You can take that hat off. Game over. Hold on. Most people have. Okay, hold on. Why Iran won't stop? Oh wow. A tanker hit. Hold on, I'm trying to get to that dome. Israel under pressure. They under pressure. How is that? They wasn't expecting. They wasn't expecting that.
A few hours ago, not a few days, not a distant history. A few hours ago, the skies over the Middle East changed color, explosions, flashes of light, sirens sounded, and the world held its breath once again. A direct military strike was launched by the United States and Israel on Iranian territory. This was not a proxy war, not a shadow operation, not a conflict through intermediaries. This was a direct attack between sovereign states, and like almost all modern conflicts, the first strikes were not just missiles but also human casualties. The strikes began quickly, with high precision, targeting strategic targets, military bases, defense facilities, and logistics hubs. The official narrative from Washington and Tel Aviv was simple. This was deterrence, this was defensive, this was for security. But the reality on the ground is always more complex.
520 Iranian missiles fired.
Missiles don't read press
Israel in
releases.
flames.
In some parts of Iran, the impact of the strikes was felt even in civilian areas. Houses shook, windows shattered, and people woke not to alarm but to fear. And here's where the line between military targets and civilian impacts begins to blur. One thing is clear, Iran did not initiate this attack. The first strike came from outside its territory. Under international law, order matters. The attacked state has the right to defend itself. Iran responded swiftly and with full force. Ballistic missiles, attack drones, a massive wave. Many ask, where did Iran get so much? The answer is no mystery. Decades of sanctions forced Iran to build its own military industry. Domestic production, old stocks, a saturation attack doctrine. This wasn't improvisation, it was the result of long preparation, and from Iran's perspective, this wasn't aggression, it was a response. Within hours of the initial attack, the skies over Israel changed. Missiles were intercepted, drones were tracked, air defenses were working non-stop. Advanced systems do prevent many threats, but not all. Sirens sounded, citizens took cover, civilian activity ceased. And at this point, we must be honest. No defense system makes war clean. Every missile that gets through is a potential tragedy. Every drone that crashes is a new fear. Let's pause for a moment from the explosions and look at the law. According to the United Nations Charter, the use of force between states is essentially prohibited except in two cases. 1. Self-defense against an actual and imminent attack. 2. A UN Security Council mandate. In this case, there was no UN mandate. What was used was the concept of a preemptive strike. The problem is, this concept is not universally agreed upon. Many international legal experts argue that future threats are insufficient to justify today's attacks. This means that their legality is debated and, for many, questionable. The most important thing now is not strategy, not geopolitics, but human beings, sleeping children, families without bunkers, citizens who never voted for this war. International humanitarian law clearly states that civilians must be protected. No matter who is right, no matter who is powerful. When schools are damaged, when hospitals are affected, when civilian infrastructure is paralyzed, that is not a victory. It is a humanitarian failure. And here, criticism must be directed not at the right of self-defense, but at the way force is used. The world often talks about rules, about laws, about universal values. But public perception often asks, do those rules apply to everyone? When one country is attacked, it is called aggression. When another country attacks first, it is called deterrence. This double standard makes many skeptical, and this skepticism is dangerous because it erodes deterrence. This double standard makes many skeptical, and this skepticism is dangerous because it erodes trust in international law itself. It is called aggression. When another country attacks first, it is called deterrence.
I see that mess.
This double standard makes many skeptical, and this skepticism is dangerous because it erodes trust in international law itself. If escalation continues, this is no longer a regional conflict, it is a global threat. It is a threat to energy, the economy, and international stability, and those who suffer the most will remain ordinary citizens. Diplomacy always seems weak amidst the pounding of bombs, but history shows that no major conflict ever truly ends on the battlefield. Let's pause for a moment. Not to defend our country, not to hate our country, but to reflect. Is true security built on attack or on preventing violence? Should military force always be the first response? And where do we stand when civilians are the victims? If you've watched this far, It means you care about issues deeper than mere headlines. Support this channel by liking, subscribing, and sharing so that critical, rational, and humanitarian-based discussions can continue to have space. This content is not propaganda, not an incitement to hatred, not a justification for violence. It is analysis, it is reflection, and it is an attempt to understand conflict without diminishing human values.
It was gonna be Trump,
Opinions may differ,
and that's
but
why
discussion is
he
always
said,
open.
"Oh, let me get out.
But human life must
Let me
remain.
show y'all where this was in the Epstein files." Let's end on that one, on this live. Let's end right there. Yeah, cause the likes should have way been up. I had over 700 and some people in here. Let's end on that. This was in the Epstein files.
When my streaming bill hit $180 a month for channels I don't even watch, I didn't get mad. I got friendly.
That when Donald Trump was cornered, do you know who predicted that Donald Trump would start a war with Iran when he was cornered about his dark past and destroy everything? Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein.
Hit the like button. Jeffrey Epstein predicted this. Ouch. Oh, Jeffrey, his best friend for life, his booty buddy, his partner. Yeah. Him predicted this. Double tap the face of y'all screen. Get the likes up.
Do you know who predicted that Donald Trump would start a war with Iran when he was cornered about his dark past? Do you know who predicted that Donald Trump would start a war with Iran when he was cornered about his dark past and destroy everything? Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein predicted in communications that are in the Epstein files that when Donald Trump was cornered, he would do exactly what he just did now. And Donald Trump is cornered as a result of the Epstein files surfacing. Donald Trump and the DOJ have been caught covering up Donald Trump's disgusting and despicable past. Donald Trump is panicking, and now he has launched what I've been referring to as Operation Epstein Fury, or the Jeffrey Epstein War. I know that name has caught on. That's what everybody is referring to this war as. I want to show you the specific messages from the Epstein files. Hat tip to the Furbetti account that says, Epstein speculating that Trump, if cornered like a rat, could... Do you know who predicted that Donald Trump would start a war with Iran when he was cornered about his dark past and destroy everything? Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein predicted in communications that are in the Epstein files
that
when Donald Trump was cornered,
so there ain't no optimism here. It's in the Epstein files.
And Donald Trump is cornered as a result of the Epstein files surfacing. Donald Trump and the DOJ have been caught covering up Donald Trump's disgusting and despicable past. Donald Trump is panicking, and now he has launched what I've been referring to as Operation Epstein Fury, or the Jeffrey Epstein War. I know that name has caught on. That's what everybody is referring to this war as. I want to show you the specific messages.
Only people that's not referring it as the Epstein files are the Trump lovers who believe any and everything the PDFer says. Everybody who got any type of sense, who've been paying any type of attention, knows that he started this war because of the Epstein files. And because old Billy Boy right here didn't save him. Yeah, he didn't give up anything that they could use, to swap him out with Trump. There's nobody in the Epstein's files thus far who said that Bill Clinton took their cookies. So why he even threw Bill up in there, because he's on pictures with it, None of the kids, not now minor, said Bill Clinton did nothing. Not one. But you got plenty of them in there saying, oh, dump to the Trump dumpty dump with the doo-doo butt did. And not only did he take their cookies, he put hands on them. Type of shit. You beating up on minors. Because they didn't like that shit. Yeah. So Bill didn't save you, and you hoping that the war will. But I am in here to tell you we still want the full, unredacted Epstein files. You can start a war all you want to. We still want your ass to stand account for the dirty, nasty, trifling shit you allegedly did. And we don't have to say alleged. It's in the paperwork. Yeah, in it, everybody. So don't come in here with no optimism. They're saying anything against the victims over here. Because we are absolutely for the victims. Period. Any pervert. Any pervert. I don't give a shit who you are. Thank you, Miss Tom. Thank you for who helped me reach my goal. I think it was Miss Tom. But thank you, Precious. I greatly appreciate it. Let's go. Everybody know.
Or the Jeffrey Epstein war. I know that name has caught on. Despicable past. What he just did now. And Donald Trump is cornered as a result of the Epstein
His ass is
files
cornered,
surfacing.
and the war ain't gonna
Donald
stop
Trump
shit.
And the DOJ have been caught covering up Donald Trump's disgusting and despicable past. Donald Trump is panicking, and now he has launched what I've been referring to as Operation Epstein Fury, or the Jeffrey Epstein War. I know that name has caught on. That's what everybody is referring to this war as. I want to show you the specific messages from the Epstein files. Hat tip to the account that says Epstein speculating that Trump, if cornered like a rat, could trigger a larger conflict, including bombing Iran, to create a crisis to try to rally public support. Count that says Epstein speculating that Trump, if cornered like a rat, could trigger a larger conflict, including bombing Iran, to create a crisis to try to rally public
his partner
support
predicted
back
his
to
move.
himself. I want you to take a look at the Bates numbers. EFTA 0, 1, 2, 1, 1, 3, 3, and some of the related Bates numbers as well, like EFTA 0, 1, 2, 1, 1, 3, 4, 0. We're going to take a look at some of these messages right now. These are text messages between Steve Bannon and Jeffrey Epstein at or around December 20th of 2018. They are referring to total diversion, but the right is on to him. Total diversions is what Steve Bannon writes.
The right is on him.
And then Steve Bannon writes to Jeffrey Epstein, everybody here's surprised and happy about it. Nobody quite understand why he did it, including myself. Completely opposite to what I was told in the White House. What is he up to? Spoke with
he running scared.
Syria United Nations
he running
envoy
scared.
Geir Peterson, who
scared,
used to work
scared.
for me.
He pee in the
very
bed.
good and kind. Then you have, again, Bannon to Epstein, and then you have Epstein to Bannon, and here's what he says. You guys need to understand that he, Donald Trump, is psychotic and would not blink twice at encouraging an attack on us so he can leap to the country's defense. That's his mindset. If I go down, I'm taking everyone with me.
Well, everybody didn't do your dirty deeds. Everybody wasn't fooling with minors. Everybody wasn't doing that trifling shit. So everybody don't need to go down with you. What in the hell is wrong with you? You go down by your goddamn self. You was the one that was attacking the kids. And baby, let me tell you something. Just so you know, and I know you know. I know you fully aware. You talking about blowing up hospitals and shit. You're mad. I just need for you to know that Sasha Riley is popping out. They say trigger warning. So I guess he getting deep out.
Just how absolutely
He done pop back up again.
as a human being, and it's why I tried to. That's why I tried to kill him.
Yeah.
Because I had decided, I had already seen enough other people die that in my mind I thought
he done pop back out again.
One encounter with Trump, and that's why I tried to
trigger
kill that
warning.
bitch, because he is a
trigger
fucking
warning
monster. It's why I have not shut up about just how absolutely abhorrent he is as a human being, and it's why I tried to. That's why I tried to kill him.
Tried to take his ass out. That's why he tried to take that ass out.
That in my mind,
literally.
I thought, well, they're just going to kill me.
He said, "Bring that ass,
point, right?
Big ass to me."
You know, I'm not going to survive to be an adult from this. So in my mind, he was the biggest pile of shit that I had ever had to have any contact with. So
I hope Sasha not in. Wasn't you know? I hope he ain't in the military still.
I can remember two specifically. A third one that I think, and I think I was around him more than those 3 times, but only 3 times do I kind of remember. I can remember at one point him asking the people that were kind of running that party or whatever it was at that farm, he wanted to kill somebody. He wanted to murder somebody. And they said, "Hey, that's not this kind of party. You can't do that."
I just want y'all to know his name, Sasha Riley, done pop back up and pop back out since this.
This is Sasha Riley, and yeah, Jim Jordan is in the mix.
Oh, and they brought up Jim Jordan.
Himself.
Oh, I love this.
When the abuse
oh, y'all know I love when I saw that.
This is Sasha Riley, and yeah, Jim Jordan is in the mix. Jim Jordan, a former wrestler himself,
oh yeah,
stayed notoriously silent.
Oh yeah, I'm so glad they bringing up Jim Riley.
This is Sasha Riley, and yeah, Jim Jordan is in the mix.
Oh, Jim Jordan in the mix.
A former wrestler himself, stayed. This is Sasha Riley, and yeah, Jim Jordan is in the mix.
In the mix.
Jim Jordan, a former wrestler himself, stayed notoriously silent when the abuse allegations came out at Ohio State. As documented in the HBO film Surviving Ohio State, he refused to engage with wrestlers or survivors. And the connection to Sasha Riley, well, he actually remembers Jim Jordan charging him at Epstein-related events.
The reason that I remember Jim Jordan is, first, he stood out. Very pronounced jawline. I remembered his voice, and his mannerisms haven't changed throughout his life either.
Jim's denials and his silence, and then Sasha's allegations, all that
go across decades. Too.
What you're hearing from Sasha now lines up with what we've seen before, patterns of intimidation and avoidance of accountability. And that's why this matters, because history repeats when silence continues. This is ongoing and it deserves careful handling. I'll continue to document and contextualize what's emerging responsibly and transparently.
Yeah, I'm glad. Y'all want to play with our country? We're going to dispose all y'all. It's about time Jim Jordan stood in the paint too. He pulled his big draws up too. What did old boy call him? The other guy. Daniel. He called him Jim short, booty short Jordan. Booty shorts. Them wrestling shorts.
An attack on us so he can leap to the country's defense. That's his mindset. If I go down, I'm taking everyone with me. And then Epstein goes to Bannon, cornering a rat. Never a good idea. Then Epstein goes to Bannon, China, Pakistan, Russia, Turkey, Iran. He also might have just decided to trade the Kurds to Turkey for them standing down on Saudi.
It's a whole slew of them.
The game is now on. And then you have Bannon talking to Epstein and saying, "My God, is he that cornered?" And then Bannon says, "You are the invisible in the midst of the visible. Who am I in the middle of this thought traffic? Beyond a an attack on us so he can leap to the country's defense. That's his mindset. If I go down, I'm taking everyone with me. And then Epstein goes to Bannon, cornering a rat, never a good idea. Then Epstein goes to Bannon, China, Pakistan, Russia, Turkey, Iran. He also might have just decided to trade the Kurds to Turkey for them standing down on Saudi. The game is now on. And then you have Bannon talking to Epstein and saying, my God, is he that cornered? And then Bannon says, you are the invisible in the midst of the visible. Who am I in the middle of this thought traffic? Beyond a certain level, there is no physicality in science either. Just mathematical abstractions in consciousness running to a yoga class. More messages here to Epstein. Let's go over here where Epstein then writes over here to himself here as well. He goes, worse, because it is not only him. It is his family, business, etc. I believe that Mueller is making a mistake and treating him like he is organized crime. No organized crime leader has a 1 million man army. Epstein then goes on to write, they are going drip by drip, but rats go crazy before the cage closes. Too much time. The Republicans are beginning to understand. I would not be surprised to see him do things that might encourage a real problem, so he can rush to the country's defense. Either he traded the Kurds to Turkey for Saudi, or he prefers to remove his family before
Why are you going to the sidelines?
The house. Then they go on to say, probably the first. He has also struck my mind. Maybe he will extradite Gulen and company.
Why are you going to the sidelines? What I missed?
Family? And then they talk about, Epstein says, we only had 2,000 troops there. If he were to bomb Iran, they would be slaughtered. Oh, that would be crazy. Not from his perspective. Not from his perspective. So you have Epstein and Bannon right around December 20th of 2018, right around this time period. And Epstein is saying, when Donald Trump is cornered, when he gets very desperate, he will trigger a war in Iran or Syria. But then they went back and they specifically were talking about Iran. I think another important fact to point out here as well, do we know, do you know where we got a lot of Epstein emails from before the Department of Justice did the initial Epstein file document dump? Remember, there's still about 50 terabytes missing. There's still hundreds of millions of documents, which I believe to be the most devastating documents that are missing. What has been produced is unlawfully redacted all over the place. And then there's a group of those same files that are unredacted, but are still redacted, even though they're supposed to be the unredacted file. But you know where a lot of the documents leaked out originally, where people started to ask questions? Iran.
Oh, Steve Bannon. Okay, let me go back. Yep.
Got in, say probably the first. He has rats go crazy before the cage closes. Too much time. The Republicans are beginning to understand. I would not be surprised to see him do things that might encourage a real problem, so he can rush to the country's defense. Either he traded the Kurds to Turkey for Saudi, or he prefers to remove his family before he burns down the
this is
house.
what's in the Epstein files.
To say probably
so yes, this is when he was talking with Steve Bannon.
Mind, maybe he will extradite Gulen and company. Why would he remove the family? And then they talk about, Epstein says, we only had 2,000 troops there. If he were to bomb Iran, they would be slaughtered. Oh, that would be crazy. Not from his perspective. Not from his perspective. So you have Epstein and Bannon right around December 20th of 2018, right around this time period. And Epstein is saying, when Donald Trump is cornered, when he gets very desperate, he will trigger a war in Iran or Syria. But then they went back and they specifically were talking about Iran. I think another important fact to point out here as well, Do we know where? Do you know where we got a lot of Epstein emails from before the Department of Justice did the initial Epstein file document dump? Remember, there's still about 50 terabytes missing. There's still hundreds of millions of documents, which I believe to be the most devastating documents that are missing. What has been produced is unlawfully redacted all over the place. And then there's a group of those same files that are unredacted, but are still redacted, even though they're supposed to be the unredacted file. But you know where a lot of the documents leaked out originally, where people started to ask questions? Iran. Iran's hackers got into the former Israeli Prime Minister's email, Ehud Barak. Ehud Barak was very close. Like, he was also, the way Donald Trump was previously one of Epstein's best friends back in the day, Ehud Barak, closer to Epstein's death, was one of Epstein's close and best friends, and they did a ton of business deals together, and they would go around to authoritarians across the globe and offer defense services, and specifically Israeli defense weapons, and try to bring the Israeli defense industry to authoritarian regimes to kind of prop them up. And I'm not being like conspiratorial. These were in the emails. They were hacked by Iranian hackers. They were transferred to a portal where they were posted publicly. And then DropSite was one of the first to actually publish those emails. We did a report on it here on the Midas Touch Network about 9 months ago. I would say we did the report on that 6 to 9 months ago. Right around, maybe a little less, around October 31st, 2015. So what was that, 6 months ago? Leaked emails from former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak, as DropSite writes, reveal that Jeffrey Epstein helped open a secret back channel between Israel and Russia during the Syrian civil war, planning a meeting with Vladimir Putin to discuss removing Bashar al-Assad and promoting a Russian-led peace plan. Notable because Assad gets removed, Donald Trump becomes friends with al-Jilani. Al-Jilani then goes to Russia and then cuts deals with Russia, then becomes Donald Trump. Remember, Donald Trump then sprayed him with cologne in the White House? So Donald Trump seems to have done the deal that Epstein and Ehud Barak were trying to do with Putin as it relates to replacing Assad with Jilani and basically moving the leader of al-Qaeda to now run Syria to be loyal to Putin and to Trump. Do you see what's going on here? Between 2013 and 2016, Epstein advised Ehud Barak on messaging to the Kremlin, coordinated with Israel intelligence contacts, and used his elite network to shape U.S. and Russian policy debates on Syria and Iran. Their collaboration revealed by a trove of Barak's emails hacked by Handala, that's the Iranian hacker group, and also advanced Barak's global business ventures and Israeli security goals. Though their effort failed to unseat Assad, it deepened covert ties between Moscow and Tel Aviv.
I've got some important news that we can't let slip through the cracks, so let me bring you an important climate update in just about 1 minute. The Trump Environmental Protection Agency has a... Back to you.
And so here's some of the emails that DropSite published. This was hacked by Handala, the Iranian hacker group. And so here are messages that like Epstein is sending to Ehud Barak. On May 20th, Thorbjørn Jagland, remember he's the former prime minister of Norway, and he's a top diplomatic official, and he's since been under investigation, and he's in a lot of trouble right now. On May 20th, Thorbjørn Jagland's going to see Putin in Sochi. Jagland asked that I make myself available to meet with him sometime in June to explain how Russia can structure deals in order to encourage Western investment. I never met him. Wanted you to know. And then Epstein and Ehud Barak are saying, okay, Panetta, Alexander Clark. Then this is from Ehud Barak with a copy to Epstein. Dear George, think of Syria. CW, background of Iran's elections and nuke program, global terror, North Korea, etc. Probably briefing for selected group Thanks, best Ehud Barak. Then you had from Jeffrey Epstein to Ehud Barak. By the way, these are all right around May of 2013. And here's the message that Epstein was sending to the former Prime Minister of Israel, former Defense Minister of Israel. He's helping him deliver this message. Wait until it's too late seems to be the new fashionable foreign policy. The unfolding tragedy in Syria has already cost 75,000 precious lives, millions displaced. The complex dilemma recently illustrated in bright colors by the recent juxtaposition of the evidence of nerve agents being used by the Assad regime against its own, alongside the vivid videos of executions and cannibalism carried out in the name of the rebel God. Though it appears red lines have been crossed, the world still waits for a coordinated plan of action. The human suffering has been staggering. In a region where the pursuit of happiness often takes a back seat to the pursuit of revenge, the very continuation of the bloodletting will be a strong driving force for sectarian killings for many years to come. In addition, the conflict already has become a powerful magnet for various extremist groups, greatly increasing the odds of a post-Assad Syria ending up at best as Lebanon, a failed state, or further down the failed line as Somalia. Another factor often overlooked is the likelihood of the much wider use of chemical weapons with every unpunished round of its actual use. This is as a direct consequence of the psychological thresholds being more easily breached as impact of external deterrence wanes. With it comes the undeniable increased prospect of chemical weapons in the hands of terrorist groups as the internal civil war sparks a much wider regional conflict. This could be as a direct result of Syrian attempts to transfer advanced weapon system to Hezbollah. Israel cannot simply wait until it's too late. They're giving the freaking roadmap here of Donald Trump. Donald Trump just took over Epstein's role, it seems. Often overlooked, but of paramount concern, should be the strategic distraction caused by intensive, risky, and resource-demanded attention needed in dealing effectively with the Syrian crisis. We cannot take our eyes off the ball. That nuclear ball is moving toward goal in the hands of the Iranian military. Assad's armed forces are weak and heavily affected by the
naturally known as
though there are many players on the world stage.
Which account? Was it on IG or was it on Facebook?
Do you get what's happening here? Is your mind absolutely blown? Okay? You have Epstein specifically predicting that Donald Trump is going to, once he's cornered, use a war against Iran as a way to distract from being cornered. Then separately, in emails that Iran's hacker group Handala was able to get from Ehud Barak, the former prime minister of Israel, you have Epstein laying out the same pretext for war against Iran that Donald Trump followed 13 years later, and it's almost as though Donald Trump is reading the script that I just read for you. It's like Trump over the past week has been reading Epstein's script from the files that Epstein was saying to Ehud Barak. That's why I just read it for you. And then, by the way, there's this email from Epstein to Ehud Barak, May 22nd, 2013. Putin asked that I meet with him in St. Petersburg the same time as his economic conference. I told him no. If he wants to meet, I will need to set aside real time and privacy. Let's see what happens there. Now, speaking of Russia, on their propaganda network, RT, they are now having people like Tara Reid, who was their contributor in Russia, their propagandists, mocking the U.S. and calling what the U.S. did the Epstein War. They're using my frame. We came up with the name. I mean, we all came up with the name there, the Epstein War. But here's what they're saying on Russian TV right now. Play this clip.
Bob told us that they were going to test the alien craft that night.
But bear in mind, I don't even think this should be called the Iran War, which is what they're trying to call it. It should be called the Epstein War, because all of this is furthering to try to...
What the U.S. did, the Epstein War. They're using my frame. We came up with the name. I mean, we all came up with the name there, the Epstein War. But here's what they're saying on Russian TV right now. Play this clip.
But bear in mind, I don't even think this should be called the Iran War, which is what they're trying to call it. It should be called the Epstein War, because all of this is furthering to try to hide what the cabal basically the elite predator class cabal is doing. And there's about
Oh, really?
9,500
I mean,
of
I
them
know that
worldwide
he
that are
sat
actually
down
running
with
the globe.
that Crown
Now, here's
Prince
what
Mohammed.
Democratic Congressmember Jamie Raskin posted. The Constitution gives Congress the power to declare war because the framers insisted that representatives of the people weigh all the vast implications, but now desperate to distract from the spectacular failure of his illegal tariffs, the Epstein files, and spiraling inflation, the president who campaigned on keeping us out of regime change forever wars, like Iraq and Afghanistan, just launched unilateral military strikes against Iran without any congressional declaration of war. Speaker Johnson must call us into session for a vote immediately. And you have MAGA people saying things like this: even if you start a nuclear war, we will crawl out of the ashes as seven-legged mutants demanding the release of the Epstein files. And remember, as of yesterday, Comer and the MAGA Republicans on the House Oversight Committee did not release the Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton deposition 72 hours after the depositions took place. I just want you to think about it. The depositions were supposed to be released immediately. Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton wanted it to be done in public. Remember, they said, let's do public hearings. And the MAGA Republicans were like, no. Why? So that they could keep it secret, right? Keep it private, then hide the videotape, which is what they did, then go out and say Donald Trump has been exonerated by Bill Clinton, push that on American state regime media, push that narrative so that gets reported, and then by the time you put out the video of Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton, the United States is already in a war, and people aren't even thinking about the video anymore, and most people just got the story, oh, Bill Clinton exonerated Donald Trump. Look at what Comer posted on Friday. Today, former President Clinton exonerated Donald Trump under questioning from the Democrats. He stated that he has no information that Donald Trump did anything wrong and that Trump never said anything to Clinton
He did not
to make him
exonerate
think he
him.
was involved with Epstein. Clinton is now the third rated Donald Trump. Look at what Comer posted on Friday. Today, former President Clinton exonerated Donald Trump under questioning from the Democrats. He stated that he has no information that Donald Trump did anything wrong and that Trump never said anything to Clinton to make him think he was involved with Epstein. Clinton is now the third witness who testified under oath that there is no evidence of Trump committing wrongdoing. Pause right there. That's not even what Clinton said in the deposition.
Nope.
And you haven't even released the video of it fully yet.
No.
What Clinton said in the deposition is that Donald Trump actually talked about his relationship with Epstein and said that they had a falling out over a real estate transaction, which the Midas Touch Network identified as the Sam Gossman $42 million foreclosure sale to Donald Trump that Epstein was supposed to buy for $30 million, that Trump scooped up from underneath Epstein after Epstein told him about the property, and then Donald Trump sold that property to a Russian oligarch, Dmitry Rybalov. 4 years later, in 2008, Donald Trump doubled the money that he bought that home in Palm Beach for from Gossman that Epstein wanted to buy. Trump sold it for $95 million, and he bought it for $41 or $42 million. And Epstein thought that there was some shenanigans taking place between the Russians and Donald Trump there, and some tax implications and some moving money and cleaning money implications, what Epstein thought, and that's why they ended up having their falling out. But just think about how sicko it is for Comer to go out there and say, Bill Clinton has exonerated Donald Trump. You see what the plan is. And then Trump goes to war against Iran, just as Epstein predicted he would. And remember what Donald Trump was saying earlier in the day. He was saying that he's been fully exonerated yesterday. The same day that he strikes Iran with the preemptive strike with Israel, he claims and lies that he's fully exonerated. Here, let me play that for you.
What about me? I don't know anything about the Epstein files. You know, I've been fully exonerated. Yeah.
And he also says that Howard Lutnick is a very innocent guy. Well, if you know nothing about Epstein, then how do you know? Yeah. Which of course you do, though. Then how do you know Lutnick's an innocent guy?
Welcome.
Here, play this clip.
Believe nothing. Natural Norland said, "Get up, Auntie B, you tripping."
He's a really innocent guy. He's doing a good job.
Baby. Well, there you have it, folks. Wow.
Naturally Narlins, baby. She a trip. She got me up on the food with this mess.
Of his son Barron, and I have the story for you next. I'm Dana. In the wake of Donald Trump's war in Iran, the internet has unlocked a new way to humiliate him by making a military mockery of his son Barron, and I have the story for you next. I'm Dan, and welcome to another Occupy Democrats video. To get all of our reports on our Commander-in-Chief of Chaos, Corruption, and more chaos, please hit that subscribe button. Let's begin this report with the devastating news. Trump's lawless bombing has claimed its first military casualties. Have a look at this compilation I created about that, and on the other side, I'll share how it connects to our bone-spurred president and his son.
The lives of courageous American heroes may be lost, and we may have casualties.
He has put American troops
Thank you,
in
Survive.
harm's way. We are continuing our breaking news coverage following the unauthorized strikes in Iran. Tonight, top Democrats are calling for Congress to return to Washington, D.C. immediately to vote on a war powers resolution that seeks to block further military action in Iran. However, President Trump stated attacks will continue with heavy bombing, quote, throughout the week or as long as necessary, unquote. Joining us now to discuss, Democratic Congressman Eugene Vindman of Virginia. He serves on the Armed Services Committee and is himself an Iraq Army veteran. Congressman, thanks so much for joining us. President Trump was clear that American soldiers may be lost in this war. As someone who served in Iraq, what is your reaction to how willing he is to put service members on the line without a clearly stated plan ahead?
Look, this is a president of war, not peace. He's a president of chaos. Over the course of the last 13 months, he's engaged in 6 conflicts. This is now the second in Iran after last summer.
I don't know, but I've been exonerated. I mean, what type of mess?
He obliterated the nuclear stockpile. That is obviously not the case. That was a lie. Then we had Nigeria, Yemen, Venezuela, the Caribbean. I mean, the list is an arm long. And this president is fully ready to commit American blood and treasure. As I said, that American heroes may suffer the consequences. He is willing to put American lives and treasure at risk when he himself certainly wasn't willing to put himself on the line and skated out on Vietnam.
As we come on the air, the conflict in the Middle East appears to be widening, with the U.S. and Israel in their second day of attacks against Iran, and Iran has escalated their retaliatory strikes.
And we may have casualties.
And that prophecy has now come true, as U.S. Central Command just released a statement announcing the first known American casualties of Operation Epic Fury. 3 service members are dead, and 5 are seriously wounded.
The congressman said that Trump skated out on Vietnam, and that sets up our featured story about Barron. The internet has been having a field day with the hashtag #SendBarron, a nod to Daddy Donald's cowardice and the ease that he puts the sons and daughters of others at risk. I discovered it from the Liam Neeson parody profile that posted, "Hey, my muchachos, it would be a dang shame if hashtag Barron started trending today," and trend it did, as he noted in a follow-up post. Ron Filipkowski joined the dog pile with, "At least someone from the Trump family should demonstrate how patriotic they are by serving instead of grifting." User Crystal posted, "Why they want to send your kids to their death. Hashtag #SendBarron. The Trump family has no record of military service in 5 generations, 2 world wars, and over 150 years. Remember this when they send your loved one off to die in Iran to distract from Trump's impeachment." Marianne Cassini Johnson wrote, "Hey maggots, remember this video when you send your kids to die for this regime. Hashtag #SendBarron," while sharing a video from Call to Activism that said, "Breaking, a leaked video is going viral showing Donald Trump partying with his wealthy friends at Mar-a-Lago before dropping bombs and starting an illegal war in Iran. Whenever Trump couldn't get any lower as a human being, he finds another basement." At the time of this report, Trump is taking heat from some of the MAGA base, but for the most part, the low-information, high-emotion loyalists are standing by their man. And of course, the irony is, their sons and daughters are the ones in harm's way as a result of Trump's war, and not Barron, the heir to the family fortune of Bone Spurs. And just before publishing this video, I discovered an announcement from the Donald about those who were killed and injured. Watch as the empty vessel marks the tragedy by reading from a teleprompter 100% void of empathy.
Earlier today, CENTCOM shared the news that 3 U.S. military service members have been killed in action. As one nation, we grieve for the true American patriots who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation even as we continue the righteous mission for which they gave their lives. We pray for the full recovery of the wounded and send our immense love and eternal gratitude to the families of the fallen. And sadly, there will likely be more. Before it ends, that's the way it is.
Reading like a bot. Hold on.
Got my heart no in the bed. But you win them.
Let me get for the ones of us, because I didn't play it that night. Let me get Bill Clinton, because I had it when he spoke and what he said after his deposition. Hold on, because I had it.
And that we should all live under the same system. I just finished testifying in front of the House Oversight Committee. I did it for two reasons. First, I love my country, including our Constitution. And America was built on the idea that no person is above the law, even presidents. I just finished testifying in front of the House Oversight Committee.
And we want the PDFers to stand.
I love my country, including our Constitution.
Stand up for their misdeeds.
And America was built on the idea
go through the system.
That no person is above the law, even presidents, especially presidents. And that we should all live under the same set of rules. This kind of democracy requires every...
Okay.
I just finished testifying in front of the House Oversight Committee. I did it for two reasons. First, I love my country, including our Constitution. And America was built on the idea that no person is above the law, even presidents, especially presidents. And that we should all live under the same set of rules. This kind of democracy requires every person to play their part. And I hope that by being here today, we can bring ourselves just a little further away from the brink and back to being a
I'm
country
sticking, y'all. Hold on. It's sticking.
Civilly.
It's still sticking. Oh, man.
And we can search for truth and justice, and that it outweighs the partisan urge to score points and create spectacle. The second reason I was there is that the girls and women whose lives Jeffrey Epstein destroyed deserve not just justice, but healing. They've been waiting too long to say something personal. Republicans made...
Hold on, y'all. Let me fix this.
Further away from the brink and back to being a country.
Hold on.
No person is above the law. First,
can y'all hear me?
I just finished testifying in front of the House Oversight Committee. I did it for two reasons. First, I love my country, including our Constitution. And America was that no person is above the law, even presidents, especially presidents. And that we should all live under the same set of rules. This kind of democracy requires every person to play their part. And I hope that by being here today, we can bring ourselves just a little further away from the brink and back to being a country that agrees civilly, and we can search for truth and justice, and that it outweighs the partisan urge to score points and create spectacle. The second reason I was there is that the girls and women whose lives Jeffrey Epstein destroyed deserve not just justice, but healing. They've been waiting too long for both. Though my brief acquaintance with Epstein ended years before his crimes came to light, and though I never witnessed during our limited interactions prevent anything like this from ever happening again, I also have to say something personal. Republicans made Hillary testify yesterday, and she had nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein, nothing. She has no memory of ever even meeting him. She neither traveled with him nor visited any of his property. So whether 10
Baby, he is
people or
adamant
10,000
about
people,
clearing
Republicans made
Hillary.
Hillary testify yesterday, and she had nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein, nothing. She has no memory of ever even meeting him. She neither traveled
You don't
with
take
him
your
nor
wife to
visited any
no
of his property.
crap like that.
So whether 10 people or 10,000 people were subpoenaed, including her, was simply not right. So here's what I told the committee. First, I had no idea of the crimes Epstein was committing. No matter how many photos they showed me, I have two things that at the end of the day matter far more than any interpretation
I'm buffing.
of 20-year-old photos.
I'm buffing again. You go out and come back in, Miss Tom, because I got it on another device. And it's not buffing.
10,000 people were subpoenaed, including her, was simply not right.
Okay.
So here's what I told the committee. First, I had no idea of the crimes Epstein was committing. No matter how many photos they showed me, I have two things that at the end of the day matter far more than any interpretation of 20-year-old photos. I know what I saw, and more importantly, what I didn't see. And I know what I did, and more importantly, what I didn't do. I saw nothing and did nothing wrong. As someone who grew up in a home with domestic violence, not only would I not have flown on his plane if I had any inkling of what he was doing, I would have turned him in myself and led the call for justice for his crimes, not the sweetheart deal he got. But even with 20/20 hindsight, I saw nothing that ever gave me real pause. We're only here today because Epstein hid it from everyone so well for so long. And by the time it came to light with his 2008 guilty plea, I had long stopped associating with it. When the video of my testimony today is released, I hope it will motivate everyone to go in front of Congress to say what they know. I hope it will motivate the Justice Department to finally release all the files and to ensure that this never happens again. The survivors deserve that.
Hey everyone, we're having our biggest sale ever on our award-winning meat sticks. So today, for a limited time, you can get 30 sticks.
Okay, hold on.
Now look, I've been watching State of the...
I think we've watched this. Hold on, when was this one? Hold on. Ouch, I'm on my elbow. Thank you, Denise, but hold on. I'm trying to get up out of here, but they keep popping up with some stuff. Let me see when this one. Oh, yeah, that was 4 days ago. Hold on. He gives a bleak. I'm supposed to be talking about Jasmine Crockett.
Donald Trump is giving a bleak warning as the war against Iran is now spiraling out of control, spreading across the region. Hezbollah has now entered the war, shooting into Israel from Lebanon. Donald Trump telling the Daily Mail and others this will last many, many weeks. However, when Donald Trump was asked by members of the press after Air Force One landed, are you going to speak to the American people other than by making social media posts or social media videos that just go on Truth Social? Are you going to try to explain to the American people what the hell is happening? Donald Trump refused to answer any questions from the press, which he's really never done before. Instead, he started pointing to a new statue that has been put up in Donald Trump's new club, Rose Garden, whatever the hell he's calling it. It's a statue of Ben Franklin, and he's like, look how great the statue is. Isn't this an amazing statue? Donald Trump's also been making deranged posts saying that Lady Gaga's dad endorsed him in 2024, and he keeps on making posts about Lady Gaga's dad, which is utterly unhinged. Donald Trump did, in fact, make a video of himself where he, I guess, addressed the war in Iran, although not really with any clarity at all. And in this video, Donald Trump
Did he say
said
Goo
one of
Goo
the
Gaga
most disgusting and
about
grotesque
a
things I've ever
statue?
heard a commander-in-chief ever say. I had to watch it again to say, did he really say that? When he talked about
Goo Goo
three
Gaga.
American service members who were killed, Donald Trump is giving a bleak warning as the war against Iran is now spiraling out of control, spreading across the region. Hezbollah has now entered the war, shooting into Israel from Lebanon. Donald Trump telling the Daily Mail and others this will last many, many weeks. However, when Donald Trump was asked by members of the press after Air Force One landed, are you going to speak to the American people other than by making social media posts or social media videos that just go on Truth Social? Are you going to try to explain to the American people what the hell is happening? Donald Trump refused to answer any questions from the press, which he's really never done before. Instead, he started pointing to a new statue that has been put up in Donald Trump's
Goo Goo Gaga.
Rose Garden, whatever the hell he's calling it.
Goo Goo
It's a
Gaga.
statue of Ben Franklin, and he's like, look how great the statue is. Isn't this an amazing statue? Donald Trump's also been making deranged posts saying that Lady Gaga's dad endorsed him in 2024, and he keeps on making posts about Lady Gaga's dad, which is utterly unhinged. Donald Trump did, in fact, make a video of himself where he, I guess, addressed the war in Iran, although not really with any clarity at all. And in this video, Donald Trump said one of the most disgusting and grotesque things I've ever heard a commander-in-chief ever say. I had to watch it again to say, did he really say that? When he talked about 3 American service members who were killed in the war already, Donald Trump, Mr. Bone Spurs, who avoided the Vietnam draft multiple times, Donald Trump said, we found out that there were these service members who died. That's just the way it is, he says. That's the way it is. And then in this bizarre video he posted of himself as well, he also said, we're going to continue this, we're going to keep this war going until the objectives are achieved, but doesn't even address what the hell objectives he's even talking. What are the objectives? You went from talking about stopping uranium enrichment to now saying regime change, but then Lindsey Graham, who was your bud talking about regime change, is now saying we actually don't care about regime change. And then earlier you tried to get Iran to agree to a ceasefire, but Iran's refusing to agree to a ceasefire now, and there's absolute chaos and fury taking place in the Middle East. And at the same time, there's a war between Pakistan and Afghanistan right now. And then at the same time, the war from Russia's invasion of Ukraine is heating up as well. And there have been major developments there. I mean, you add all of this together. I don't want to use the hyperbolic term World War, you know what, but the world is on fire from
more than the
war
minute.
as a result of Donald Trump's deranged attack on Iran, when it appeared that there was still ample time for negotiations. One thing I want to point out as well, you have Donald Trump and Netanyahu have hacked into the Israeli television networks, and now they are transmitting videos of themselves to Iran, where Netanyahu's going on Iranian TV and Trump is going on Iranian TV, and they're saying, we're here to help you. We're here to save you.
Oh,
Take
wow,
back
lying.
your country. Take back your country. I don't think the people of Iran are big fans of Netanyahu and Donald Trump. I would even think the people who don't like the Ayatollah and don't like the Islamic Republic probably are not fans, and I'm putting this lightly, of Netanyahu and Donald Trump. And by the way, the latest poll out from the American people, the latest Ipsos poll, only 27% of Americans approve of Donald Trump's attack on Iran right now. But here's how Donald Trump, I don't even want to say addressed it. He posted a deranged video on his social media platform while also posting about Lady Gaga's dad voting for him in 2024. The hell? Here's where he says, people die in war.
I'm finna
That's the
end
way
it.
it is.
This
Sure,
is it.
3 service member died. More will probably die, but that's just the way it is. Let's play this clip.
Earlier today, CENTCOM shared the news that 3 U.S. military service members have been killed in action. As one nation, we grieve for the true American patriots who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation, even as we continue the righteous mission for which they gave their lives. We pray for the full recovery of the wounded and send our immense love and eternal gratitude to the families of the fallen. And sadly, there will likely be more. Before it ends, that's the way it is. Likely be more, but we'll do
You
everything
don't give
possible
a hoot.
where that won't be the case.
And then here Donald Trump says, we're going to achieve all of our objectives. Our objectives are very strong. What are the objectives? Can someone please articulate to me, seriously, what the objectives are here? What the hell we are doing? Here, play this clip.
Combat operations continue at this time in full force, and they will continue until all of our objectives are achieved. We have very strong objectives. They could have done something 2 weeks ago, but they just couldn't get there.
Now, hell is breaking loose in the Middle East and
Oh,
also in Russia and Ukraine right now. I want to give you some data points right now. Like here, we have the Iranian drone strikes have hit an ammunition warehouse at a U.S. base in Erbil in Iraq.
U.S.
There's also
base.
secondary explosions and a large fire observed at the scene. You can see what it looked like when this ammunition warehouse belonging to the U.S. military was successfully hit by Iran. Here you can take a look at what some of those secondary explosions looked at. Here are, this is the aftermath of Iranian ballistic missiles impacting Jerusalem right here. You can see what that
Good
looks
evening.
like right
You gonna
there.
miss me where I'm gonna
Let's take a
such
look
an
right
ass.
here. This
But I will
footage
miss
shows
you. What you talking about,
escalating
Miss Tom?
violence erupting near the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad as clashes intensify. Let's play this clip right here.
And some of these people ain't running or nothing.
Or let's take a look at some of the clashes erupting between Shiite protesters and Bahraini security forces after a demonstration condemning the assassination of Iran's supreme leader was dispersed. You'll see Molotov cocktails being thrown. Just take a look at what this looks like. Let's play it. Next, you'll see when an Iranian missile successfully struck Jerusalem moments ago. Let's take a look at what that looked like.
Oh my God. Oh my God. No.
And then you'll see over here, still unclear what this is, but a large aerial object was shot down in northern Iran. Here's footage of the burning object falling from the sky. The Trump regime has not provided any information yet what that could be. We don't want to speculate at all, but it looked bad. Here, let's play this clip.
Allah Akbar! Allah Akbar!
More images right now of a large fire and explosion near a U.S. naval facility in Bahrain, which is home of the Navy's 5th Fleet. You can see it right there. Multiple fires are burning at that naval support activity, Bahrain, right there. You can see what that looks like. Going to Iran for a second, there is, yesterday there was a elementary school for little girls that was blown up, and right now we're seeing a hospital in Tehran that looks like it was hit as well. I'll show you this footage right here of Israel and the United States striking the IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps' headquarters. They blew up the entire Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps headquarters, totally destroyed. Let me show you what that looked like here. Let's play this clip. And by the way, here was the footage of Donald Trump when he landed at the White House, when he was at the Rose Garden, and he was bragging about the Benjamin Franklin statue that was there, and he wouldn't answer any questions about the war. Here is the helicopters in the background, so I'm only going to play a short clip because it's a little bit hard to hear, but I'll just tell you what Trump says. He says, look at this statue, isn't this statue great? And the reporters are saying, hey, can you tell us what's your message to the families who have lost service members in this war? Are you going to address the American people through an actual address, not on your social media platform? Is this really going to last 4 weeks, 5 weeks? Is this a never-ending war? Watch what Donald Trump does. Here, play this clip.
What are the objectives of Iran? President, who do you want from Iran?
Unbelievable statues, you'll see. Come and look at it.
Mr. President! Can you talk to us about Iran, Mr. President? Can we take questions on Iran? What's the statue? Mr. President, what's your message to the families of the service members who were killed?
Walking makes you old. Tai Chi makes you young. Make it a habit.
Folks, even Lindsey Graham, who
yes,
is the
I'm
one,
yelling,
big proponent
so
of
he
regime
can hear
change.
me.
Remember, regime change, Lindsey Graham, we need a regime change. Now Lindsey Graham is saying the goal is not to regime change. Here, play this clip.
The goal of this operation
what did I miss?
is to
What are
change
y'all
the
talking
threat,
about?
not the regime. When this operation
What did I miss?
Benjamin Franklin statue that was there, and he wouldn't answer any questions about the war. Here is the helicopters in the background, so I'm only going to play a short clip because it's a little bit hard to hear, but I'll just tell you what Trump says.
It won't let me change my
look
background.
At this statue, isn't this statue great? And the reporters are saying, hey, can you tell us what's your message to the families who have lost service members in this war?
Just stop
Are
it.
you going to
There
address
is
the
no
American
reason.
people
What are you
through an
talking
actual
about,
address,
Mrs.
not on your
Tom?
social media platform? Is this really going to last 4 weeks, 5 weeks? Is this a never-ending war? Watch what Donald Trump does. Here, play this clip.
What are the objectives of Iran? President, who do you want from Iran?
Unbelievable statues, you'll see. Come and look at it.
Mr. President! Can you talk to us about Iran, Mr. President? Can we take questions on Iran? What's the statue? Mr. President, what's your message to the families of the service members who were killed?
Folks, even Lindsey Graham, who was the one like big proponent of regime change, remember regime change, Lindsey Graham, we need a regime change. Now Lindsey Graham is saying the goal is not to regime change. Here, play this clip.
The goal of this operation is to change the threat, not the regime. When this operation is over, no matter who takes over in Iran, they will not have ballistic missiles to hurt us, Israel, or the region. They will not have the capability to be the largest state sponsor of terrorism, whether it's a cleric or a group of representative of the country where there's an election. It doesn't matter right now.
Next, let me show you this huge explosion that took place after impact in Novorossiysk, Russia. You can see what it looks like right here. This appears to be a Ukrainian successful strike on this port facility area, where also lots of oil traverses from as well. Rory Johnston says it's a big deal, especially right now with what's going on in Iran. Was this part of, Ukraine playing hardball? Is this Ukraine going, on the offense? Is this Russia creating an event to justify other action? But that was one of the biggest strikes, we've seen in a while. We'll show you here some footage from earlier, brought to you by the Tammuz Intel, of gunfire between pro-Iran protesters and Iraqi security forces close to the U.S. Embassy there. Here, play this clip. Here is video capturing a drone hitting a U.S. base in Kuwait. Let's play this clip right here.
So let me give you three numbers: 28, 99, and 150,000. Here's what those mean. $28. That's the DNC's average online gift. And it's what I'm asking you to contribute to the Democratic Party's Fight Fund so that we can resist Donald Trump and win back control of Congress. 99%. That's the percentage of DNC donations that come from grassroots supporters. It's proof that our party is powered by everyday Americans. And 150,000. That's how many donors the DNC needs to hit its goal and elect Democrats at every level, from the Senate all the way to your local school board. Look, I know this year hasn't been easy, but we can't roll over and let the Republican extremists win. No way. And that's why I'm asking you to chip in to help us build a better and stronger party. I'm asking you to fight back. Thank you. Let's do this together.
Tom Ogle drove 200 miles on only 2 gallons of gasoline.
Royal Raymond Rife claimed he could heal cancer using sound frequencies.
Nikola Tesla built Wardenclyffe Tower, hoping that it would power the world for free.
John not only discovered free energy, he also discovered a way of propelling a craft into space that wouldn't necessarily need fuel.
Stan said he could take tap water, pour it into the gas tank, and run his dune buggy.
Wilhelm Reich was so far ahead of the medical industry that they destroyed him.
It is a deliberate campaign of disinformation to discredit the work that he had done years earlier.
The money people do not want this out because it disrupts their business model and their almighty dollar, probably more than $2 quadrillion in assets. If we can get this done right, then you're going to have a world where there'll be no poverty and no pollution.
All of these inventors are working in the area of what's described as forbidden science. But actually, what they're dealing with is the most sacred science. If we can tap into that sacred science, it leads to the total freedom of humanity. It ultimately leads to our ascension to other worlds, possibly even to other dimensions.
Okay, I'll see y'all later. Oh, no, it's still here. What? I miss everything. Thank you. Who you saying thank you to?
Oh, my God.
I'm going to share this clip right here of a ballistic missile hitting Jerusalem. Play this clip. Now, ultra MAGA guy by the name of Bill Ackman has been posting, big ally of Donald Trump, big in the MAGA movement. He goes, the greatest sacrifice one can make is to give up one's life for another, in this case for hundreds of millions of Americans, 90 million freedom-loving Iranians and the rest of the world from whom a nuclear and terrorist threat is in the process of being removed. Words are inadequate to honor those who made the ultimate sacrifice, so saying that more members of our military, I guess, should be killed for this regime change. Wow. Our editor-in-chief, Ron Filipkowski, writes, the thrill Trump gets from having people blown up and kill other people and from watching other people fight at UFC comes from deep insecurity rooted in his personal cowardice. It makes him feel tough. It makes him feel adequate. Things he has never been but always wanted to be. I agree with Ron Filipkowski there. A few data points as well. Big pop of 13% in Brent crude to $82 per barrel right now. So the price of gas is going to be surging. We're looking at the markets right now. The futures markets, as of this recording, are absolutely tanking. The Dow is down significant amounts. So is the NASDAQ and the S&P. Major drops. Major drops there. We'll see what it opens tomorrow with, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be. It seems like it's going to be deeply problematic. Here's the statement from Iran's foreign minister, Saeed Arghichi. We've had 2 decades to study defeats of the U.S. military to our immediate east and west. We've incorporated lessons accordingly. Bombings in our capital have no impact on our ability to conduct war. Decentralized mosaic defense enables us to decide when and how the war will end. Just trying to see if there's any other data points I want to share with you before we go. But yeah, I think that's the that's the update we have right now. We'll keep you posted, of course, every step of the way here at the Midas Touch Network. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million
Okay, y'all,
subscribers.
I gotta go. I'll see y'all tomorrow, unless something else pop off tonight. Okay, unless something else pops off tonight, I will see y'all tomorrow. Thank y'all for hanging in there with me. Thank you for the support. Thank you. I thank you, not naturally, Nolans, for getting me out of my funk and getting on here, cause baby, y'all have a bye. Bye, Pamela. Bye, Joe. The tea is hot. The tea is hot. Jeffrey Epstein predicted it. Bye, Candy. Yeah. Jeffrey Epstein predicted it. He was cornered. Bill Clinton did not save him. He had no choice. Big Bubba didn't save him. Big Bubba didn't save that ass. Big Bubba didn't save that ass. And Jeffrey Epstein predicted what Donald Trump would do, and that's go to war. And he don't have a plan. He don't have a backup plan. He gonna try to steal He gonna try to steal. Good night, Marie. Good night, Purple Flower. All he know how to do is steal. Yeah, but they need to expedite impeachment. He started this wall and he broke the law by doing so. He broke the law. He's out of order. This will be his third impeachment. Bill Clinton did not save him. He was cornered.